Someone else picked up the gauntlet, you know, so I'm not sort of like, take it a little by little. It's like
Oh, no, sorry.
These must be going well.
Good evening. I'd like to call the Windsor Board of Education meeting of Tuesday, March 21st, 2023 to order. The first item is the Pledge of Allegiance and then a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Next order item on the agenda is recognitions and acknowledgements. Recognition of Windsor Education Foundation grants. First, Dr. Hill, and then Ms. Morales.
So,
We don't vote on it. It's not something you vote on.
sorry. WEF is a nonprofit organization now in its 15th year that was formed with the goal of supporting excellence in Windsor Public Schools. Since 2007, WEF has awarded $218,892 in grant awards to local public school educators. The grantees funded for the school year 2023 will directly benefit nearly 2,000 students across all grades. Additional support has been provided in the form of school supplies and scholarships. The Grant Review Committee looks for a variety of proposals from all grade levels and schools that are consistent with the Windsor Board of Education district and school goals, impact students with varying learning disabilities, fall outside the regular operating budget, will ultimately impact or benefit a large number of individuals. In other words, the impact of the grant is not a one-time benefit to a single group of students, but may benefit additional students long-term. It also encourages professional collaboration and promotes school and community communication. At this time, I would like to invite Ms. Christina Morales from our Office of Family and Community Partnerships. And I do believe, are you going to call up Representative Jane Garibay as well? And they're going to take it from here. Thank you, ladies.
Push this thing. How does this work? On? Okay, perfect. All right, can you hear me now? Okay. So thank you for having us today. Jane and I will be, Jane Garibay, our state representative, will be presenting on behalf of the Windsor Education Foundation a check for the teacher mini grants that we have received for this school year. A little bit about the Windsor Education Foundation. It encourages community support for excellence in public education and provides funding for innovative projects and programs in the Windsor Public Schools. It is a 501c3 organization, and we are very thankful and grateful for the opportunities that you afford all of our teachers here in our district. And I will toss it over to you.
Okay, thank you. I'm here today as a member of the Windsor Education Foundation, not in my state role, but we're just really excited to be able to do this because this is one of a program that helps our teachers in the classroom, which then, of course, trickles down to our students. But most organizations are supporting the schools directly, the kids directly, and this supports the teacher. This year, 6 grants were awarded for the total of $7,775. We do go up to $15,000, but this is what came in this year, and that was chosen. There were some that were not. One of the programs is from the high school, and it's the LGBTQ Education and Awareness Project. Another one at the Windsor High School is the Mental Health Awareness and Drug Use Prevention Project. Pequannock School Plants for the Future. Pequannock 1,000 Words. And I believe it was in your packets, right? So you've been able to read, but just the Soft Start project at Clover Street and School Book Project. And we're just thrilled to present this year. And we look forward to working with Christina is a pleasure, and with Dr. Hill. And again, we're just so happy to be here and to be able to present this to the schools.
Any questions?
Any questions? Seeing any, Mr. Pano?
Yeah, I find this very interesting. Most of these are very good little projects. However, I did have some question on the first one there. It did not appear to me to be something which is fitting for an educational issue as the way it's described here. And so, I would suggest that is something that should be done at home and not through the school system. Because unlike the other items, it really is not a direct, or the way it's described, does not appear to be an educational issue, but more of a private club type of issue. And so I would suggest that it's probably not something that we should accept. That's, we wish this were something else. Anyway, that's the way I see it. It says here that they're going to facilitate workshops with middle school students to help build connections between the high school and the middle school. And I think that sort of thing should be done outside some other venue. Thank you.
So I will say that some of our grants did change. This meets a mental health issue, which we know that we have all read and seen the crisis with our youth with mental health. This program there is a GSA group at the high school, and so it meets the needs of that group. The teacher presented. What she wrote was incredible. Again, I think we believed we received maybe more than 15 grants, and these were the 6 that were chosen, and we do feel that it meets a need within our schools.
Ms. Taylor?
I just want to thank you for all the work that's being done. I know I have been to events for the WEF, and I have been a part of being a PTO at JFK in the past. And it's, from buses for field trips to all types of things that you guys do, and this is wonderful. And I just love to see the diversity and the grants here this year. And you mentioned that you're a 501c3, right? Mm-hmm. So basically you can do what you want with your money, right?
Oh, absolutely. We have a board, not just me, but a board.
There's a board and there was a process.
Yep, and it is, and we do have bylaws and we have rules, and this met all the criteria that we have.
Excellent. Keep smiling, keep doing what you're doing. Thank you.
I just wanted to add to that, too. There's a grants committee that does review. So the process, the way it works is that when the teachers submit the applications, I download them, I review them, I make sure that they are not supplanting what currently exists, and that then it goes, and I work with a district leader to review those applications, and then we put our recommendations forward. We do communicate all applications to the grant committee, and then the grant committee decides who they are going to fund.
And they actually go to the full board, and the board votes on it, so it's double support there. And then it's approved through the schools.
And then,
So there is a process.
Absolutely. And then, the next step is we provide award letters, and then there's packets that I create to make sure that the staff have all the information they need in order to be successful and to be able to implement the grant till its full extent. And it's been working pretty well this year, with Jane coming in as the president recently voted in, and so.
We have a good team.
Yeah.
Mr. Williston, did you have a question?
Is there a question on this side? If I go back and
Any
forth?
questions on this side? Ms. Cantor?
Thank you. I'm in agreement with all of them except for the first one because I think that should be an outside activity that should be done not using educational funds. I think it should be reading, writing, math, and science, especially the way our grades sit today. Thank you.
Okay, so we don't have that criteria. You can vote down to refuse the money. I mean, so,
I would like to see the money go directly towards reading, writing, math, and science.
so we try to do things that are outside the normal. We believe that our school system should be providing for reading, writing, science, math, and all those basic educational tools. Ours are usually creative and innovative grants, you'll see in our mission statement, and it's for things that are outside the realm of the schools per se. I can tell Mr. Chang, we supported him with his new ping pong club years ago, a butterfly garden at Pequannock School. There were all different kinds of grants that you can see on our website. You can go and see what we've done in the past. So,
Thank you.
yep.
Yeah. Dr. Hill?
Just to clarify, and all great points coming from each individual, but because of your organization, it's not a Windsor Public School organization, and it's not monies coming to the Board of Education. You can't vote down the grants, okay? Just to be clear.
Oh,
I don't
okay,
want
sorry,
people to
my
misunderstand
bad.
that. Thank you. Yeah.
Nathan?
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you guys for all the hard work you do, the countless hours. I know, but
You know.
yeah. So I understand that it's hard and creative work to even raise the money for the grants, and then even harder work to sit through the reading and all the paperwork, and then just all the communication that goes behind it. And this is on top of what you already have to do with your life. So I just want to say thank you for taking the time out to support our kids.
Thank you. Anybody else over here?
Yeah, thank you. So I heard the process is there's an RFP, which is an application, correct? It's well vetted. I just want to say thank you. I know each of us, we have our point of views of how we feel about things. And there's been things that have come across this desk that, quite frankly, I have not personally agreed with, but for the greater good, I've supported. So I understand that the GSA does great things. There's GSAs throughout a lot of different high schools across this country. So the fact that you're thinking outside the box and you're looking at the diversity piece, make sure that it's inclusive. So just want to say thank you. I'm sure this was not an easy task, and hopefully you will continue to support my school system for years to come.
Thank you. And I'll just, again, one last thing. We are a non-political entity. We have from different walks of life, and that's why I clarified I wasn't here as state rep. I was here as the Education Foundation, and we try to work together with all many different interests, et cetera, but again, it's not a political organization.
Anyone else? I want to thank you as well for your efforts here. I remember many auctions going to, and bingo nights, wine bingo.
Wine bingo.
And I know with...
It may be
with-
coming back, so.
Yeah. Oh, good. I think now that people are coming back, being in person and having that social context for it is important. And seeing, it's just always a good feeling in any of those efforts that people are there, all support education. I'm also involved with the Windsor Library Association, also a 501c3. And our job is not to buy books for the library. The town, our budget should be strong enough to support those libraries. But we're the icing on the cake that we have here. And that's what, and the Library Association purposely has different things that are not books, that they're museum trips in the summer, activities, maker space. We're going to be having kind of a space where you can rent things out at no cost, but you can get things out in addition, because it's a community service action. I know my wife had benefited through WEF during her time in buying small little robots and started in first grade showing kids how to code. And so I think all of these look like good proposals. As Mr. Lockhart mentioned, most schools and the majority in in Connecticut have GSAs, and we've had a GSA a long time that has also partnered with the Human Relations Commission. And so I think that's a very appropriate use of funds. But again, as Dr. Hill mentioned, this is not our money, it's your money, and we thank you very much for supporting our teachers. And they have a responsibility to get back to you and present what they did with your money, and I think that's a good thing too. So thanks again.
Let me just point out that the first item here, the grant review processes, are consistent with the Windsor Board of Ed district and school goals. So the comments made by Ms. Cantor are not out of place, and so I would agree with her. I respectfully say that this is not something that would that we consider to be something that would be consistent with our goals. So the rest of them, though, are pretty clearly that, and so they're fairly silly, very, very easy to accept, So this is a very personal thing, the way it sounds, and so I think it's a separate category. But I understand everybody has different opinions.
But I want to clarify again, because we have the public listening audience. So as I said before, everyone's comments, I'm not here to judge anybody's comments. I said everybody's making great comments. I just wanted to be clear, it's not our money. We as a board, me as a superintendent, we have no power over it. But I will say it does meet the requirements of the board. We have a GSA association, which we had before I came to Windsor 21 years ago. So it's been here a long time. So that means Windsor, long before anybody got on the board or I showed up, felt that a GSA was important enough to have at its high school, which it does have. So this connects to that. So it is, I just want to be clear, it is part of what already is happening at Windsor High School. This is not a new thing.
But this is a connection, though, between older students and younger ones, and it talks about a multi-school, summit, which is a connection with all schools, that too. So
I think it's just middle school and high school, but again, my understanding is that would be, something that parents obviously would approve if they, if they're approved, they're aware of what clubs are. So I just want to be clear that nothing's being created outside of the context of what Windsor has already had operationalized, should I say, for over 2 decades. So that teacher and the students, they're definitely in line with what Windsor has espoused since I was introduced to Windsor in 2002.
Right, but the point is that this is connecting older students with younger ones and making connections and things. This is quite new. So thank you very much.
Ms. Taylor, then Ms. Clace.
I think it's important because we're using a lot of acronyms. Does everybody know what GSA means? I don't think people do. And I think so you're thinking that there's no connection, but there is. To Dr. Hill's point, this group has been in effect for 2 decades, but I think that maybe if you would explain or share what GSA means, or anyone explain what GSA means, then they would see the connection between.
So when I came to Windsor in 2002, it's a Gay Straight Alliance. And it was an active club at Windsor High School, and has been active. And again, I said I'm only aware of it from me, being introduced to the town of Windsor and Windsor High School in 2002 when I came as vice principal. But it was absolutely a club that was in operation before I got there. So it's actually more than 2 decades. I just am aware of 2 decades. But it's a Gay Straight Alliance, and I know it's been well supported and heavily supported by this community since I came to this community in 2002.
Ms. Clace?
I wanted to say thank you, and honestly, I was really not going to say anything because I think it's a great thing that the Educational Fund does for Windsor schools, but I have to say that I don't want to make sure that my silence isn't read as something else. So the Gay Straight Alliance and other groups that support inclusion and diversity and connection to me are important, and I think they are a extension of the schools and the environment that we provide for social emotional learning, which we've spent a lot of time and commitment to. So I just need to say that out loud because we are on the record, and I don't want anyone to think that I fall on a different side of this issue. So, but thank you very much for what your group is doing. I support this group immensely, and I support all the work that the teachers have put into getting those grants and the really rigorous process that you go through to award them. So thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Okay.
Do the photo op.
Yep.
You get to do the photo op.
We're just waiting for everyone to get together. All right, on three. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Thank you, Jane.
Are you okay?
The next item on the agenda is audience to visitor, and Ms. Daly, can you read your script?
Good evening. This is Robin Daly from the Superintendent's Office. If there is anyone from the public who would like to address the board, you may do so in 2 different ways. If you are using the Zoom application on your mobile device or computer, you may enter your comments into the Q&A feature located at the bottom of the Zoom menu bar. Or you may raise your hand on your computer if your device has a microphone by selecting the participant's icon on the Zoom menu bar and then clicking Raise Hand, or by dialing *9 on your phone. You'll be given 3 minutes to speak. Please state your name and address. When you are called on, you'll be prompted with "You are now unmuted." For clear communication, we ask that you do not place the call on speakerphone. No comments can be made against the employees of the school district or children outside of your own.
Thank you. And as usual, I described that at the 2.5-minute mark, Vice President Lockhart will raise a card briefly to let you know to start wrapping up. And at the 3-minute mark, he'll hold it up and keep it up. For those who are calling in, you won't see the card, but at some point, Mr. Lockhart will let you know that your time is up, and please finish with your remarks. So at this time, I'd like to see, is there anybody in the boardroom who would like to address the board? Just come up and please come up, sign. Please come up, sign your name and. Oh, okay. Okay.
So while our first speaker's coming, I just want to correct, thank you, Principal Parker, but the GSA is now called Gender and Sexuality Alliance. That's the name, Gender and Sexuality Alliance. Thank you, Mr. Parker.
Not touching. How do I know when it's the go? Oh. I wanted to share my concerns about the new ad drop policy at the high school. When I raised my concern with the high school administration,
Name and address.
I'm sorry.
If you could, for the record, just state your name and address
Oh, I'm
as
sorry.
well. Sorry.
My name is Michelle Stillman, and I don't know why I'm looking. I know where I live. I'm at 23 Sand Hill Road in Windsor.
And I'll restart the time.
I'm sorry, thank you. I wanted to share my concerns about the new ad drop policy at the high school. When I raised my concerns with school administration, I was informed that administration made the decision to eliminate ad drop from the school year as they would like for students to work with their counselors and teachers to make more informed decisions on the courses they are requesting during course selection and over the summer in order to eliminate major movement in teachers' class rosters during the beginning of the semester. I can appreciate that doing away with add-drop during the beginning of the school year would make life easier for teachers and counselors, but I cannot see any way in which this change would be in the best interest of students. Most high schools and even colleges recognize the importance of add-drop, so I'm not sure why Windsor sees eliminating this option as beneficial to its students. I understand the expectation is that students would have conversations with counselors and teachers during course selection, but I believe many students will have a hard time making an informed decision based on only what they hear from teachers and counselors or what they read in a course catalog. Many students need to learn through experiencing a class, especially in the context of their daily schedule, in order to discern whether they have taken on too much or have not challenged themselves enough. A student often needs to experience a class and a teacher in order to see if they are a good fit. To give an analogy, when you purchase something online, you can read the description, read the reviews, and do as much research as possible, but sometimes when what you have bought arrives, it is not what you had hoped, and you need to return it. I believe that having a time-limited add-drop period allows students to explore and take risks with their schedule. Without add-drop, I believe students will end up either playing it safe or could end up over their head with no way out. Younger high school students can lack insight into what classes or levels might involve, and older high school students might change interests and would benefit from being able to change directions. Another concern with the new add-drop policy is that I do not understand how it aligns with the social-emotional learning that Windsor High has been promoting. If a student is stuck in a class that they feel they cannot succeed in without an option of making a change, this could create unnecessary social and emotional difficulties. And if a class has students who no longer have interest in the class or who feel that the class is not a good fit but cannot make a change, there is a greater risk of behavioral issues. Without add-drop, families are being encouraged to make changes during the summer, with students reaching out at different times throughout the summer. It seems just as complicated to try to make any changes. I know in the past when I've reached out at the beginning of the summer, I've been told to reach out later in the summer or during add-drop at the beginning of the school semester because I need to wait for openings to become available to my student. Lastly, I was discouraged to hear that some members of the school board were not aware of this policy change and that as parents, we were not included in the discussion regarding a potential change as significant as this so that administration might receive input from families and the board before making this significant change. The bottom line is that there are numerous reasons, in my opinion, why an add-drop option during the first 2 weeks of the school year is vital and positive to a student experience and outcome.
Thank you very much. And just to let you know and others know, during audience to visitor, it's really an opportunity to say something to the board. It's not an exchange that goes back and forth, but I believe the add drop will be discussed, I think, in the superintendent's report, in case you want to stay. Thank you very much.
I'm going to stay here while you read.
Whatever.
You have to say your name.
All right. My name is Ryan Stillman. Also 23 Sand Hill Road, Windsor, Connecticut. So I also wanted to speak to the value of add drop from the perspective of a high school student. My brother Will was supposed to be here, but he's not comfortable speaking in public. But I can share on his behalf about how add drop helped him this semester. Will was able to take the risk to try to take lifeguard training, to try to take a lifeguard training course this year. However, after the first week, he felt that he could not adequately keep up. Rather than lose the opportunity to earn a credit during the semester, he was able to drop the class, release the spot to someone else who wanted to add the class, and add a different class that better suited him and alleviated his anxiety. I do not believe that the switch during the first 2 weeks set him back as a student, nor did it appear to impact his trajectory during the semester. I do not think that having a set roster at the beginning of a semester is more important than having a group of students who feel the class is a right fit for them. I'm currently a high school senior, and I'm currently trying to figure out what I want to major and pursue in college. I know that my interests are continuously evolving, and so I know that having the add drop in both college and high school is helpful in this process. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else who'd like to address the board here?
Yeah, pull.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're next.
Yeah.
You.
You don't have to close it.
No, that's fine.
I can make it bigger.
No, that's fine. I'm just gonna say we are Black excellence from Windsor High School.
We have to be like where we're from. Let's all say that.
Our school has my address already. Scoot over. For Titanic.
Our address is because that's special.
Sage, are you each going to speak, or?
Yes, so you
Okay.
wanted us to say our,
I mean, you each get 3 minutes if you want to, so it's,
So can we get 12 minutes as a group?
You can pass this.
you got 12 minutes collectively, I guess.
I was
Nice.
just kidding. I was kidding. I was kidding. Seriously.
yes.
Would you like us to all start with our name and which school we're from?
Yes, and then try to, you might have to pass the mic to be
Oh,
heard
okay. So you can start.
Okay.
over the
An
airwaves.
address.
Okay.
Yeah, name and address. Yeah.
I'm Liana Dongo, and I'm from Windsor High. Yeah.
You have your address?
Oh, my address, sorry. 138 Colton Street.
I'm Sage Dehaney, 208 Mountain Road.
I'm Albany Chambers, 14 East Wolcott. My name is Jasmine Brown, and I live on 85 Highland Ave.
All right, good evening. We are Black Excellence, an active club at Windsor High School. Today, we would like to address our Windsor athletic teams facing racism on multiple accounts, including the most recent quarterfinals girls basketball game. Based on research, we have found these incidents to be extreme violations of the CIAC Code of Conduct. As a community, we feel these violations have yet to be addressed. We're looking for your support in our plan. We want to meet with the CIAC Council directly to get the Code of Conduct revised on spectators and the repercussions of violations.
Just some background information on what occurred at the game. Pompolog spectators entered with an enormous Blue Lives Matter flag. The Pompolog spectators claimed it was to fit their USA theme. While the Windsor team were facing the Pompolog student section, as they were warming up, they faced these waving flags. Most people described it as an act of intimidation. While some Pompolog students also chanted monkey noises, and one witness even claimed to have heard some Pompolog students say racial slurs. After almost 30 minutes went by, a Windsor staff member approached a member from the CIAC board, commenting, "This is kind of offensive." To which a CIAC board member replied, "Oh, that can be considered offensive," before moving towards telling the student to put the flag away, even though it remained up.
Some of the things you just heard about are those violations are located in your packets that you can read through as we're talking about this. One of our biggest concerns is the lack of response/urgency, or even respect to our basketball team regarding the violations that occurred. Till this day, the CIAC and the Pompolog High School have lacked an apology to our student athletes directly, as well as how so many people have expressed their concern of the racism they experience but have yet to speak up about because they are afraid of the repercussions. This is not the only team from Windsor that have experienced these discriminations, this racism. This is the final time that we are willing to just stay silent about it. One of our most important part is our next steps. We want an apology for our girls' basketball team. We want to sit down with the CIAC, talk about their guidelines, evaluate them, and set stricter repercussions for these violations. We would also like a change to the spectator rules. If you look through your packets, that was almost all we could find, and it's very limited. There is nowhere in there that states what the repercussions would be for those violations.
Okay, so the time to stand is now. If we don't take a stance, nobody's going to. We need your support to move forward in this plan to clear the path for our future athletes so they won't have to experience this kind of discrimination that our Windsor public teams athletically have been facing on many occasions without justice. We need your help to get us to the CIAC, and we appreciate your time and support.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anyone else who'd like to address the board tonight?
Hello, everybody. Missed you guys. Sorry, been busy. James Madison, 8 Fitzmaurice Circle. So I believe that the government that governs least governs best. That makes, in our little world of Windsor, you part of the federal government of Windsor. Follow my analogy on this. It makes the schools the states, and it makes the rooms the municipalities. I say, and by the way, just because the federal government doesn't do something doesn't mean it's anarchy. It goes to the states. Just because the states don't do something doesn't mean it's anarchy. It goes to the municipalities. You know that quite well. Now, I say this to say, I want to address the dress code. Got the connection? Of course not. Not yet. So, when I go into the schools, I see a tremendous amount of wasted energy trying to get the kids to obey the dress code. And I look at that and I say, wait a minute, that's energy I'd much rather see spent somewhere else, anywhere else. And so they're constantly talking to the kids about how their hoods are up or whatever, whatever, whatever. And I would like to see that actually changed. And so I did check with the new student rep to make sure this is still an issue, because I know it was, because I haven't been here for a few sessions. And it's still on the table. And so I think actually we should seriously consider changing the dress code to allow kids to be more able to do what it is they choose to do, within reason. Again, saying that the federal government changes the rules so that the local governments can do what they need to do, such as the principals making the rules for the schools, doesn't mean they wouldn't put some restrictions in place. But I think that it's an interesting opportunity to say, can we reduce the amount of regulation at the highest level in our town, turn it over to the principals, turn it over potentially farther than that, and let the enforcement be what is reasonable based on those local guidelines. And again, my main motivation for saying this is I look at the energy that is spent on this, because I go into the schools a lot for the chess club, for the career day, everything else, and I just look at the energy spent trying to enforce the dress code, and I say, okay, is that the best use of energy? And then when I see it disregarded, because it is, that also undermines the rule of law. Because when you have laws that aren't necessary throughout society, whether it's criminalization of drugs, which just puts nonviolent people in jail, or whether it's something like, wearing certain clothing in school, when those things don't get enforced because at some point the teachers realize it's a waste of their energy, now that actually undermines the notion of rules and the notion of rule of law. And so I actually want to say that we should make the rules a little more liberal on this front, precisely because it'll allow the energy of those in authority to be focused on things that really matter, like things that harm other people, like actually getting kids to focus on their schoolwork, that sort of thing. So I would like to change that. And again, just because I think something should be made legal, quote unquote, does not mean it's a good idea. I believe in the legalization of drugs because it's horrible to put people in jail for it. That doesn't make it a criminal event. So I look at something like dress code. I look at all of you. You're either here because you were elected or you're here because you're on the job, and you're all looking very sharp. Dressing is how you succeed in life, right? We should teach that to the kids. But I just think enforcing it as a rule is not effective. So I'm actually kind of leaning towards the side of the students who are going to advocate for loosening the rules. Thank you.
Thank you. And again, I won't have people comment on what you said, Mr. Madison, but if you want to stay for the rest of the meeting, you may hear a little bit about where things are with dress code policy, where it may be going. Anyone else in the boardroom who'd like to address the board? Seeing None. Ms. Daly, is there anybody online or on the phone?
At this time, there are no hands raised for the attendees, and there are no open questions in the Q&A feature.
Okay, without objection, close audience to visitor. Seeing no objection, audience to visitor is closed. Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda, and is there a motion first? Or? Yeah. Anything on either side here that, of the consent agenda that needs to be pulled?
Nope.
Seeing none, is there a motion?
I move the Board of Education accept consent agenda items 4A, financial report, 4B, enrollment report, 4C, food service report, and 4D, human resources report.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Lockhart, seconded by Mr. Panos. I'm assuming no discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Abstention, motion carries 900. Next item is the approval of minutes. Ms. Taylor?
I move to approve the minutes of the February 22nd, 2023, 7 p.m. regular meeting.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Taylor, seconded by Mr. Panos. Any discussion?
No.
Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes, say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Abstention, motion carries 900. Next item on the agenda is student representative report. Mr. Davis.
Thank you, President Fury. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So I'm very excited to be here. I would like to give honor to God, who is the first and head of my life. And I would like to say it is an amazing time to be a Windsor Warrior right now, especially with everything going on. The first thing I would like to highlight is our Connecticut treasurer, Mr. Eric Russell, visiting our school. So he's teaching financial literacy, and as I've interviewed and heard from students, it was very inspirational and informational. Next, I would like to highlight the recording tech showcase, and reason why I would like to highlight is because our Windsor kids, especially our music department, has so much talent on a regional, on a state level. So I just want to give a huge shout out to them, and also producing this by their own merit, by their own ideas for the second year in a row, and doing it at a professional level now. So I would like to highlight our winter sports are closing and our spring sports are opening. So some things I would like to highlight is that we had 67 athletes reach the CCC All-Academic Team. 6 for boys. That includes 6 for boys basketball, 11 for boys indoor track, 10 for boys swimming, 7 for cheerleading, 5 for girls basketball, 22 for girls indoor track and field, and 6 for our wrestling team. Next, I would like to highlight our winter sports. So our postseason competitions, boys basketball going to round 104 in Divisions 1. Our news shot put record that has been broken hasn't been broken since 2012. Class L champions when it comes to our boys for multiple events. Our boys swimming, we have a 19-year-old school record broken. One of our girls basketball players reached 1,000 points. Amazing, amazing achievements overall. So I would like to say amazing job to our athletes. And for our all-conference team, we have 4 for boys basketball, 7 for boys indoor track, 4 for boys swimming and diving, 3 for girls basketball, 7 for girls indoor track and field, 5 for wrestling. And for our all-state teams, we have 6 on boys indoor track and field, 1 on girls basketball, and 4 on girls indoor track and field. So that being said, as spring sports are opening up, we have our outdoor girls and boys track, softball, baseball, girls tennis, boys and girls lacrosse, and a new one, boys volleyball. So as you have all heard earlier in the meeting, the dress code. And also a new one I would like to bring to light, the lunch survey. So we have had meetings, and a new word I was taught today, thank you, Mr. Parker, is disaggregating. So that means the separation. So we've had these meetings, we've had these surveys. So what we're doing now is the issues aren't off the table. We're trying to realize, is there anything wrong? What is wrong? Is there something that can be changed at the building level? Is there something that the students, we need the board's help. So with me, how I like to roll is I like to keep all the facts. I want to make sure I'm coming fully prepared, so I should have everything by next month. So I am coming, and the board, if there is anything, I will bring it to you. That being said, we have JROTC's military ball coming up. Juniors, we have your SAT tomorrow. You guys are going to do great. Senior outing and prom coming up, our music department field trip, and seniors college decisions coming up very soon. So that's been everything. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much. Are there questions or comments for our student representative, Ms. Claes?
I just want to say that was an excellent report, and I'm looking forward to the dress code report that you will prepare, because he was so prepared. You should see his notes. He's got all ready, everything underlined. Yeah, right? So thank you very much.
Anyone else?
Yeah, great report. I share the same sentiment as Ms. Claes, and it's nice to see the kind of, I don't know, is the like technique or like just style of every student rep, and you know, you got a nice little swag with your report. I like it.
Anyone else? Tristan, I know we happen to have with Sage and Liana here, you all came with us to the Capitol, and were able to also talk your truth, all three of you there, so good job. And as I usually say, if you want to stay for the rest of the meeting, you're more than welcome, and I guess you're not taking SATs, where so lucky you, and you may not have school tomorrow as well, probably. It's a study day, so you're welcome to stay, but also if you have things to do, we understand that. Next item is the President's report. On February 24th, I was at JFK. I know Miss Taylor was there at some point, and I saw her mom as well, to help with the Apex run. And I didn't get sick, and I don't know how many kids came to me huffing and puffing after running around the gym for, a half hour and having to sign their little form that said how many laps they had done. But I know Stephen's class did very well, Miss Taylor, so. On March 2nd, my wife and I were at Pequannock for Read Across America Day. I read to a first grade class. That's always a fun day to be there and to talk with students as you're reading. It's a great experience. On March 8th, I was at, as I mentioned, with three students. Two of them have now left the building. For CABE's, it used to be called CABE's Day on the Hill, but now we don't walk from the Bushnell to up the hill or down the hill to the Capitol, so it's just kind of CABE Lobbying Day, the Connecticut Association of Boards of Education. And we were one of several districts to bring students. We were allowed to bring three, so we did make that offer, and had three excellent students who exchanged their ideas with the CABE group and the CABE staff. Also met with both Jane Garibay, who was here before, a state rep, and Miriam Khan, and Senator Doug McCrory. The students were also on a tour of the Capitol, and I think that was important, and I know they got a lot out of it, but they missed Dr. Hill, Mr. Lockhart, and myself meeting with Senator Kissel, who's got a very small part of the northern part of Windsor in his district, but I did remind him I happen to be in his district personally. And I also spoke at the Education Committee, who had a hearing on a number of bills. I attended a dress code committee, as did Ms. Taylor and Mr. Wollaston, and hopefully they'll flesh that out a little bit more in the school reports. Team Paragon Robotics participated in a two-day competition up at Western New England University on March 17th and 18th. We had a nice visit from Assistant Principal Derry Thomas, who came and checked out, stood in the stands and cheered with us, and also went into the pit area and met some of the students and mentors as well. Last night I was at Pequannock STEM Night with Team Paragon as well. Several students and mentors, including Mr. Gazakis and our robot for this year called Ready Kilowatt. April 27th, the team will participate in a STEM night at Oliver Ellsworth, making sure we don't just pick and choose, that we try to get to all the schools. Team Paragon will again be competing April 1st and 2nd at Hartford High School. That's open to the public. And also on the 1st is the TSA State Conference is actually being held at Sage Park on Saturday. I don't have the times, but that is a great event that we were able to secure. And I know Megan and the kids there, I'm sure will be very excited. Unfortunately, we have several students on Team Paragon who are also on Technology Student Association, so we're losing a few students on Saturday to TSA. That is my report. Any questions? Don't all jump at once. Seeing and hearing none, the next item are school liaison reports, and start with Windsor High School. Ms. Taylor.
Thank you, President Fury. It's hard to follow our student liaison. He really hit a lot of the amazing happenings happening at the school, so I'll just jump right into my reflection. First and foremost, I am always blown away by our students when they come and they speak in front of us. It is very intimidating as an adult. I've been on the other side. I know how it is to gather your thoughts, and even though your knees are shaking, you get it out, and that just goes to show how amazing our students are. Inside the classroom and outside, because they didn't have to do that. They could have been anywhere, and they chose to speak their truth. I, as a parent, was at the Pomperog game, and I'll just put it out there, it was disgusting, the display from their student cheering section. But our athletes didn't waver. They played the game. Our cheering section, our band, our cheerleaders continue to be the excellent representation of Windsor student athletes and musicians and gymnasts that they are. I'm very saddened by the culture and climate in other places. Sometimes I guess we get a little too comfortable here in Pleasantville, and then you go out in the world and then you're kind of put into culture shock. The students before you are part of the Black Excellence Club. They invited me to a meeting because I was a parent that was there. They're just flawless how they're deciding to handle the situation, and I support them wholeheartedly. Again, as a parent, I was there, and they're just professional. They did their due diligence. I mean, they did their homework. So again, cheering them on to do what they need to do. And again, I support them being the liaison from the high school. So much going on, as Tristan did mention. I came from the Winter Sports Awards to be here with you all tonight. And it's just amazing hearing not only what we're doing on the field, on the court, but these are scholar athletes. They are keeping up not only with the rigor that we ask of them and for eligibility, but they're also keeping up beyond that on the state level, and we just have to support them in all that they do. Again, I always say this: if you haven't gone to a game yet this year, go to a game, go to a meet, go to a match. You won't be disappointed.
Mr. Wollaston?
Sorry. Just to piggyback off Ms. Taylor's remarks, first and foremost, I have to award the bravery of, I believe, all five, included the young man who spoke earlier, of the students we had from Windsor High today. I understand it can be a daunting task to come up and speak before us, but they really presented really well, and it was really nice to see. In the spirit of bravery, I'd like to also recognize the girls basketball team for really fighting and pushing through what could be spoken as nothing less than a devastating event to have to go through it, or just to be taunted. Monkey noises in 2023 is literally insane. But those girls, they're strong and they're brave, and I just really like to really, in the spirit of Women's History Month, give them a little nudge on the shoulder as well, because they really, although we didn't win the game, they put up a fight for sure. And I've been to a few games this season during the regular season and the postseason, and they could ball for real. But on another note, David, as President Fury mentioned, the three of us, we attended the Windsor High School's Action Club. They had a kind of like an open forum, just a discussion on where we are in the dress code. As our student rep said, we're kind of just filling things out. It was really just a discussion on how everyone feels about how it exists right now. What are some things that are good? What are some things that are bad? What are some things that could possibly be changed? So it was nice to hear the perspective of multiple races, multiple ages. You have students, you have teachers, and you have board members as well. And it was kind of just an open discussion on where are we right now, because we have to figure out where we are right now before we figure out where we want to go. And it was really a good conversation, as the student rep said, in gathering all the responses and gathering all the sentiments and remarks. We'll be able to pave a path forward on what we should do now. I'd like to also congratulate all the students that our student rep mentioned prior, because that's a lot. That really is a lot. Not every school is blessed to have students who are performing so well on the court, on the field, on the track, and in the classroom as well. Yeah, and that pretty much wraps up all I have for today.
Thank you. Questions? Oh.
One more thing. I'd also second that we did attend the Cave Day on the Hill with, we had Rep. Garibay, Rep. Khan as well, and it was nice to see the Windsor delegation and just some of our student leaders all in the LOB cafeteria, just sitting down and enjoying some food and speaking and empowering the student voice, which is really big for me, because these are our leaders for tomorrow. So it was an amazing experience to watch these students be empowered in that way.
And if I could add to that, the reps and the senators, they didn't want to really hear from us. They really wanted the students, straight talk. What's good? What's bad? What can we do? And as to dress code, again, just as Mr. Wollaston alluded to with the students who came prepared tonight, Abby, Tristan's predecessor here in that chair, was there as well. Again, went through the survey that was done. We looked at several different communities have done dress code changes. We looked at those and had small group discussions about them, and tried to give them as well some guidance, because even though it's only March now, before you know it, to be able to get this, whether it's to Dr. Hill or to the board, a lot more input is needed, and so I know they are aware of that. But again, it wasn't just let's sit around and talk about how we feel. We were all looking at documents that had been dug up and doing it in small groups so we could each share what our thoughts were. And as Mr. Wollaston mentioned, it was student. At least one representative besides the two board members of the school governance council. It was a number of teachers, and it was students as well. So it was well done. Mr. Wollaston?
Yeah, and another thing I'll mention about the meeting we've had with the Action Club and with the students going to the Capitol as well is just, I love it so much because it teaches our students how to organize. And that's really what is key and what is important for changing the world around you and making the world around you different, because at the end of the day, we're just one vote. If any of us is elected to a higher seat, we go up and we're just one vote. So it also takes letting our students and our future leaders of tomorrow and our leaders today, really, because they can make change, to show them and to teach them how to organize and how to advocate for themselves.
And I don't know if the high school has any other trips that are planned, but now that the Capitol is open, I hope in future years, especially AP government classes, going and seeing what goes on. We're very lucky that we're nearby from Windsor to Hartford. Mr. Wallison?
And I'll say maybe we can get a WEF grant from that if a teacher write ones up. Who knows? Who knows what will happen in the future?
Ms. Claes?
So I don't know if it's appropriate to Windsor High School reps, but my question is, and maybe we have to take it up on other board action, is how do we support the Black Excellence Group in their question about support from the board? Because I would like to help them at least get a meeting with the CIAC, perhaps figure out if there's a way we can give them some more representation to look at possibly us having our own policies about how our spectators behave, and perhaps even looking at, who governs the CIAC and looking at how we make policy change with them. So I think that it's important enough. I feel like Windsor and certain other towns face these kinds of events annually. It's not a rare, it is once a year, but it's once a year is more than I'm comfortable with for our students and their safety. And so I would like to know specifically what we can do. And I don't know if that goes to the Windsor High School Governance Council, or if we just have that as a matter of the board, or what's the best place to think about what we can do to support action and change.
I did ask them, but we met so prematurely. This was when things were just about happening early last week, I think it was. And so I believe, almost like the dress code, they're going to come back with how we can help. But I think today their plan was to put it out there for the listening public and for folks on the board that may not have read me in the current. And Coach Huggins in the current and things like that. However, I do believe Dr. Hill might be touching upon this in his report. I don't know, but I will say that our athletic director was reached out to by their athletic director, so there is conversations, but I think what the students are looking for is change, and I think that does take time. They acknowledge that, as Abby's going to graduate, and the dress code may not have, it may not flip as fast, but they understand that this is a marathon. Rest in peace, Nipsey Hussle, and it's not a sprint.
Thank you. Anyone else? Next is Sage Park Middle School report. It'll start with Mr. Halleck.
Thank you, Mr. President. We got some great things going on at Sage Park. On March 29th is the Unified Arts Content Night, from 6 to 7 p.m. On April 1st is SEL Family Engagement Summit. That's going to be from 9 until 2 p.m. The 8th grade Washington DEC trip is coming up, and a luggage drop-off for that is going to be on April the 2nd from 8 a.m. until 12 p.m. And finally, I just want to say congratulations to our boys basketball team who won the CRAL championship. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Ms. Claes.
Yeah, I would just add that the summer enrichment registration is open for students, and I think Principal Jorgensen is celebrating a 20-year anniversary with our schools, or something like that, right? Did I see that on a Facebook page or something? Yes. 15. Oh, 15?
I think it's 20. I believe it's 20.
I'll look. I'll find the. I thought everybody would know.
It's listed in the superintendent's office there, all the 10, 15, and 20 years, so someone can run down. I think it is 20.
Oh, her marriage. Oh, well, happy anniversary.
Yeah.
Now I know way too much about Principal Jorgensen.
And
And it's 23 coming.
Shout out to the Jordans. Thank you.
Any questions for Sage Park? Seeing and hearing none. Clover Street School, Mr. Lockhart.
Thank you very much. I was participated in the read-along on March 3rd. I was very happy to read to one of their fifth grade classes, and they asked a lot of great questions, and the country boy in me came out and gave some good country answers. So the girls appreciate it, the boys not as much, but that's okay. Sometimes you got to put it where the goats can get it, and they got it. So on March 27th, there's picture day, and there's also a PTO meeting. And on March 30th is the obstacle course day, I believe, from 6 to 7:30. Ms. Lee, please tell Mr. Farr that I am booked. I will be in Orlando on that night. And so I thought I would be able to make it, but when he sent the date, it just didn't, it conflicted. So I apologize in advance. So if anyone wants to go participate in that event, obviously you're more than welcome to do so. That's all I have.
Any questions regarding Clover? Okay, next item is JFK and Ms. Cantor.
Thank you. They have a new absentee reporting system. You can scan in the QR code, or you can go to a website, I believe. They're celebrating Women's Month this month, the month of March. Go women. Today, they wore crazy socks today. They're really quirky things and mismatch, and it's to recognize World Down Syndrome Day. So I think that's a really great thing to do. Also, on March 6th, grade 5, there was a meeting for all families for the introduction of grade 6 for the junior high that occurred. They had their parent-teachers conferences on March 15th, 16th, and 17th. They want you to complete your survey, your climate survey. They had social emotional learning day on March 10th. They all participated, grades 3, 4, and 5. It's the importance of mental health and the well-being of all. And they did celebrate on March 2nd, Read Across America Day. There's another thing that came out too. It's for mammograms. There's going to be a mobile site at LP Wilson, so if you're interested in getting a mammogram, you can contact Jennifer Waldo or the town of Windsor, and they'll be able to give you that information. The summer enrichment programs are from July 10th to the July 27th, Monday through Thursday this year. It's $100 per course, but if you have 3 or 4 summer enrichment courses, it's $300, so you get a $100 discount. And there's a 50% discount for students that receive free or reduced lunches. And last, if you want to order your yearbook, do it today. That's it.
Operators are standing by. Any questions for JFK? Yes.
I read at JFK, and it was wonderful. I just want to shout out Miss Silliman. She's the new school librarian, and she did a great job. She had refreshments laid out, and the books were outstanding. It was just a really well-organized event. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Ms. Skalinsky, Oliver Ellsworth.
Thank you. Parent-teacher conferences were held last week. They currently had an 89% attendance rate, and so the teachers are working on getting that up actually to 100% participation rate. So stay tuned. That's their goal for this week. They have also started a mentoring partnership with Windsor High School, which is great because the students can actually earn community service hours by doing that. And it began today, and it's being held on Tuesdays and Fridays. The Boosterathon, which OE did Apex last year, we have moved away from that and went to a new company. I believe Pequannock and Clover did that, and they had such a great success rate that OE decided to change it as well. And so that begins on Thursday, and it ends on Monday, April 3rd with a Just Dance event instead of a fun run. And so the kids are super excited about that. The goal is to raise $12,000 this year. Last year they raised $11,000, so we believe that they can do it. And then for anyone who doesn't actually know what those funds are used for, it's used for future events like field trips, Teacher Appreciation Week, And then one of the biggest things that OE does is a spring carnival. And so I'll get to that in a moment. But we also have a handful of upcoming events. You know, they have a Yard Goats game, which is super fun. You know, the PTO, they get a handful of tickets. I think it's about 175 maybe this year. Don't quote me on that number. But it's great because the students and parents all sit in the same section. So these kids get to actually hang out at a baseball game together and socialize because, you know, most of them are not really interested in the game. But it's super fun for the parents to be there and to actually witness. So that is on April 22nd. They also have the Scholastic Book Fair coming up. And then again, the Spring Carnival, I believe, is June 9th, pending the weather. And then lastly, we have a School Governance Council meeting on Thursday, March 23rd. And that is open to anybody. You do not have to be part of OE to attend. So please, it's virtual, it's super easy. You just have to log in and be present for it. So thank you.
Thank you. Questions for OE? Seeing and hearing none. Last but not least, Quantic School.
Quite fair. I'm surprised he's.
Mr.
Not the
Panos.
least? That's a well last. As I attended the March 6th PTO meeting, very well organized always. It was interesting that Principal Mahalko works through the PTO and talks to parents about student growth and academics. He actually gives a report on it and the iReady, results, and he is very he's very optimistic that they're going to be right up on schedule here by the end of the year, make up any lost time. They had an FCL day, all day on March 10th, and it was a lot of activities related to STEM, and showing teamwork and all this sort of thing. It was very good. The school photos were coming up at the end of the month here, 30th of the month. And on April 20th, they're also going to go to the Yard Goats game, 6 p.m. There's a whole section set out for this, organized through the PTO. And last, and certainly not least, on April 1st, there will be an Easter egg hunt. That's a Saturday, 1 o'clock. And guess who is going to be the Easter bunny?
Is it you?
Is this one for the no videos taken, please.
On April Fool's Day?
April Fool's Day, April 1st. What time is that again?
I already said it once.
I'll have to go back to the recording.
I practiced my hopping. There you go. What am I going to do with it? I'm gonna eat all the eggs.
You probably still have a lot of Hershey's Kisses there, too.
Give them away. That ends my report.
Any questions for the Easter, for the, regarding Pequannock?
For the Easter bunny. Show up.
Oh, boy. Next item is the superintendent's report. Dr. Hill.
Thank you. I'm very excited.
You're the Easter bunny.
All right. So March is Board Appreciation Month. This is an opportunity for us to publicly extend our appreciation to our board members for their dedicated service to our children. Our board members are generous with their time and commitment to public school education. Thank you. Bless you. Thank you for your continued service. The dish you have received this evening was made especially for you by Ms. Marge Reynolds' art students in the Spark program and the CBTA program. So we hope you all enjoy it. That's custom made.
Oh, it's a sweet.
Custom made. So eat the candy, but the bowl is forever.
Wow.
Okay. We also have a special message from some of our students, just for you guys. So if you can look and see the video.
Wow.
David Perry. Jolene Gorenstein. David Fury. Leonard Clark.
Jeremy Holland.
Nathan Wollaston. Darlene Clace. Paul Panels. Jill Cantor. Ayana Taylor. Thank you. Jolene Gorenstein.
So just a little appreciation video, something for you to remember. Thank you to the Windsor Education Foundation for joining us this evening earlier. The district appreciates all the hard work put forth by the foundation to donate funds for these exciting initiatives. I would like to publicly thank President Cindy Daniels and the entire Windsor Lions Club, as they were able to purchase 3 spot scanners to be used in our schools for vision screening. The Lions Club now has a trained vision screening team and are in the beginning stages of possibly doing the vision screenings in our schools next year. In the state of Connecticut and beyond, teams of Lions successfully do this service. Lions have just completed screenings using the spot scanner for more than 1,200 children in Windsor Locks, Enfield, and South Windsor. It has come to my attention that there are families in our district who are refusing to pay for their child's food bill with Windsor Food Service. The Windsor Public Schools participate in the National School Breakfast and Lunch programs, and we are obligated to feed any child who needs a meal. The USDA sets the guidelines for feeding children in public schools who participate in the National School Breakfast and Lunch programs. Children who eat the provided free breakfast and/or lunch and return to lunch line for additional meals or a la carte items will be charged for those items. Parents, guardians will be responsible for any meal charges. The Office of Family and Community Partnerships sponsored an SEL Family Engagement Summit on Saturday, March 11, 2023 at Sage Park Middle School. The event provided fun SEL activities for the entire family, children ages 6 to 18. There were workshops on responsible decision-making, self-care, yoga, relationship building, SEL for Dads, SEL at Home panel. My March coffee talk was held at 10 a.m. this morning. Turnout wasn't really big, but it was, I was excited because it was like a bunch of men. So I usually don't get the men to come to the coffee talks. It's usually a lot of women. So it was men this morning. That was interesting. My April coffee talk will be held on Wednesday, April 19th, 2023 at 5:30 p.m. in the LP Wilson Auditorium. Please RSVP on the district website. Spring break will begin on Good Friday, April 7th, 2023, and continue through April 14th, 2023. Schools will reopen on Monday, April 17th, 2023. Next, I will call for Dr. Haiti to address. We had 3 questions presented to us, and Dr. Haiti is going to respond to the board's 3 questions at this time.
Thank you, Dr. Hill. Our first question tonight from Mr. Paul Panis. Does the administration at Windsor High School try to do something about the students who are failing courses, especially after mid-year? And if so, what is that? So yes, absolutely. We do have numerous systems in place to address students who are failing before and after they fail. So we do not just wait until after the fact. We make sure that we have systems in place all along so that we can provide interventions if needed and all the support that is needed before they get to the end of the semester or the end of the year. So as you all know, we have semester courses and we have year-long courses. So about the second week in January, our first semester ended. So students who failed the first semester have been, counselors are meeting with all students who fail the first semester, not just at the end of semester, but after the second quarter, after the first quarter, which is halfway through the semester. So we have 4 quarters. The second quarter ends the first semester. So after the ending of the first quarter, that gives us an indication of students who are at risk of failing. So counselors meet with their students and provide any intervention needed. So we have different systems. We have Saturday school. We have after-school tutoring. Students are able to go to a learning lab during their study hall if they have a study hall during the day. So they can choose, depending on their schedule and their time, to go get additional help if they are failing or at risk of failing. Once the semester is over and students have actually failed the semester, parents are contacted, counselors meet with the students, and students are still in the class. So if it's a year-long class and you failed the first semester, you're still in the class. And then you're also in Genuity or credit recovery so that you can recover the first semester of the class. So failing the first half does not necessarily mean that you're going to fail the entire course, and doesn't mean that you need to make up the entire course. So we allow students to do that. If students end up at the end of the year not able to recover the first semester, and they also fail the second semester, so they end up failing the entire year. And at that point, they have two options. They come in over the summer for credit recovery to recover that course, or if they do not do that, and we have different guidelines for who qualifies for credit recovery. So you have to have at least a 40% average in order to enroll in credit recovery. So if you failed the course, let's say 15%, if that's all you got, an average of 15%, you would not qualify to take credit recovery. You have to re-enroll in that same course next year in person. So credit recovery is not for everyone, and we do have certain criteria, like I said, for credit recovery. If students are enrolled in credit recovery over the summer and they do not finish their course, then they have to retake that course next year in person. So that's to answer the first question. Any questions?
Yeah. Thank you. I think let's do questions through each segment. So, Mr. Panos?
Okay, so the credit recovery then is something that goes on at the time, like if you have a whole year course, you're saying, and you fail the first half, then you begin credit recovery in the second semester.
Right.
Okay, so, and so they have a chance to bring up their score somehow. Well, they still take then the regular exams. Is this right?
Yes,
so,
they do.
Okay, so, and so it's a kind of an aid then. It's at that point it's really like an extra homework or extra help program. It's not a standalone course of its own.
If it's just during the year, it's additional support to make sure you recover the first semester so that you can pass the course and you don't fail the course.
Okay, so what you're saying is that you change then the course grade for the first semester?
Yes, so if they pass the first half, let's say Algebra 1, if they pass semester 1 in Algebra 1 on credit recovery, and they have shown mastery of everything that needs to be done in Algebra 1 first semester, then the grade gets changed, so they pass that first semester.
So you change the grade. Now, how do you know that it's equivalent to the mid-year exam, for example, or the tests that were taken and were supposed to be passed? How do you make sure of that?
So this is the second question. Do we?
Oh, that's the second question. Oh, well, I'll wait. Okay. So that's mainly it.
Can I just add one thing I forgot to mention? So, in order to make sure that students are not getting to this point, one additional thing that we do, Mr. Parker meets with every single teacher after the first quarter. So they go over the list of students who are failing or at risk of failing so that we can start to intervene earlier so we don't get to the point where it's the end of semester 1, mid-January, and students have failed the course. So that's another kind of intervention step we have in place so that we don't get to that point and then we have a number of students who need credit recovery or need to retake a course.
Okay. And so those interventions then affect the student. That's what, in other words, the pressure then is placed on the student, of course, with the teacher's guidance, to catch up. Is that how you do it? You know?
Yes.
Yeah.
So the goal is to help students to catch up and not have to retake a class or go through an online class.
And again, these are Saturday or after hours.
Yes, so we have Saturday school, we have after-school tutoring. Some teachers will just offer up their time after school, before school, during lunch. We have learning labs, so students are able to go see, for example, if I need support in math, I can go to the math lab during my study hall, and I can get support from a math teacher. Same thing with English or science.
Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else regarding the first question? Thank you.
All right.
But
So
there's no changing of the standards. In other words, you stick with the teacher's grade is the final grade for the period and it's only changed afterward in this credit recovery
right,
thing.
if they take the credit recovery and they pass it, then they get the grade they get in credit recovery.
Right, but as I'm getting ahead of myself. You go ahead.
Okay. So the second question is, how are the credit recovery courses validated? So like I said, credit recovery, we do have specific, benchmarks in order for students to be able to take credit recovery. So like I said, the 40% is a minimum benchmark for students to be enrolled. Also, students are monitored regularly, so we do have staff who monitor students on Edgenuity, which is our credit recovery program that we use. They monitor their progress. Once you get to an assessment point, your teacher has to open up the assessment so that you can take it to ensure validity of the assessment, to ensure that the assessment is taken during a specific time frame so that students don't, have all the time to research answers and all that stuff. Also, credit recovery or Edgenuity courses are monitored and audited frequently. So, we look at how students are doing. For example, last year we offered Spanish as a credit accumulation option. We monitored, before we even allow students to get on a course online, we looked at the curriculum and we made sure that it aligns to our Spanish 1 curriculum at Windsor High School to make sure that the standards are the same, to make sure that the level of rigor online is the same as in class. However, after that first experience, we heard student feedback and we talked to that teacher who was doing that course, and we learned that it wasn't the best platform for students to learn a language. So in turn, we're not offering Spanish as a credit recovery option this year. So we have that also in place to make sure. Courses like Health 11-12, we actually, when we looked at the credit recovery course online, it wasn't aligned with what we have. So what we did, we created our own course. So Edgenuity or credit recovery allows us to customize courses. So I can go in there and create my own course that aligns to how my curriculum is in high school. So we did that for Health 11-12 because that is one of the courses that a lot of our students need to take for credit recovery or accumulation. So it is exactly the same course that we teach at Windsor High School. They take very similar assessments. The difference is it's an online platform. So students have to take the assessments online.
So with this software, I forget the name of it.
Edgenuity.
Edgenuity. All right. So you actually input and make up the courses yourself, right?
That is an option. We can customize courses.
Do they have a shell then? So do they have a health course?
They do. They have all courses that you can think of. I go in, I look at all the standards, I look at the syllabus, I look at assessments, writing samples, everything that's required, and I look at all the units. And then I look at our curriculum. If it aligns, I keep it. If it doesn't align, so some, and that isn't a good example, Health 11-12. The course they had in there had like 10 units. It had things from, the 1990s where it's not even relevant anymore to talk about. It is no longer in our current health standards. So I was able to just take out these units and insert units that are relevant and are in our current state standards. and then we call it Windsor High School Health 1112, for example.
And so you can, it's that you are capable, you're able to do that change to the software. is
Yes,
that they can-
it's a customized
Interesting.
platform.
Customize it.
And
Thank
you can build your own, so you don't have to use one of their courses. If you want to build your own course, you want to put your own videos, you can build your own course in there as well. Any questions?
Any, Ms. Cantor?
Does the
Sorry,
company?
Ms. Cantor?
That's okay, thank you, thank you. Does the company actually update it for you, send you information every year, and then you modify?
Yes, so
Does
the
that-
courses are updated based on standards. So Common Core, when it came out, the courses changed based on the Common Core standards. Same thing with health. We just recently, 3 years ago, had Connecticut adopted new health standards, so the company did update their courses.
Oh, okay, so it's updated to reflect the laws?
The standards,
And then you
yes.
update what needs to be updated?
Yes.
If it's not, if you need it? Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Next question.
All right. So the next question is, please address the issue of eliminating the add drop period at the high school during your spin. Okay. So first of all, before I start, I just want to, for parents at home and our board members, so the add drop period is a period at the beginning of every semester of about 2 to 3 weeks where students used to be able to just go to a class that's on their schedule, sit in the class for a week or two, and then decide they don't like the class, they don't like the teacher, their friend is not in the class, and then decide to go to the counseling office and ask to change that class. So that is what the add drop period is. We did decide to, eliminate the add drop period for multiple reasons. First of all, we still have a mechanism and a system in place for students who still want to change a class. So schedules are made at the end of the year. They're sent out to parents and students at the beginning of the summer. And then students and parents have the entire summer, the 2 months over the summer, to call in, make an appointment, come in and talk to a counselor to change a class if they want to. The problem that we have experienced with AdDrop for years now is that it does cause a huge disruption to the beginning of the school year, not only for students, but for teachers as well. And you can imagine in a building with 1,100 plus students, if you have, let's say, even 25% of those students who want to add and drop a class, a lot of movement in the hallway all day, every day for the first 2-3 weeks of school, trying to go find a counselor. My counselor is busy with somebody else, so I want to talk to somebody else. It was a constant movement in the hallway, back and forth, trying to change a class. A lot of times what we have found from our experience that the change request is not really based on a student not able to like it was mentioned, not able to address like an AP class, right? So AP is too rigorous for me. I can't do it. I want a lower level class. Most of the AdDrop experience we had was because students wanted a different teacher because this teacher is too strict. I don't like this teacher. Or my friend, which is the common excuse, my friend is not in this class and I want to be in another class. And it's actually very common, within students to class shop. So they're doing class shopping the first 2 weeks of school to decide which class, which teachers they like to be with. That causes a couple of things. So we always tell teachers the first day, the way you start your year is the way you're going to end your year. So if you're going to start strong, building relationships, setting your processes in the classroom, your high standards, and then a week later, half of your class is gone. You have new students. Then you have to do that over again. We tell teachers instruction after the first day of school where you get to know your kids and build relationship. We want instruction to start immediately so that we're not losing 2 to 3 weeks of instructional time, waiting for our rosters to be finalized. So that's another problem that teachers were not able, because if they start instruction on day one, they give assignments, they have homework, and then 2 weeks later, students leave, a new student come in. Now, you have to make up 2 weeks' worth of work, which is really difficult on a lot of students to do, especially if they have that going on with multiple classes. Also, it's... that's it. I think I addressed all the points.
Yeah. interesting. So
Mr. Panos?
Yeah, so in the case where the AP course that you gave example, what would you do with that? And the kid takes a bunch of AP and takes one too many, especially in a topic that he doesn't.
So I just want to be clear
finish the-
for you, Mr. Panos, the board, and for the public. So by no means does this change the situation, as Dr. Haiti said, when there's difficulty with a course. I mean, that's a necessary change, and it's not going to take a student 3 weeks, number one, to figure that out. And my experience at Windsor High with that drop, I think at some point it has been lengthened because it was never 3 weeks long. It was always like a week. It was a very short amount of time.
Right.
So it's become it's a monster. So you're talking about like the first month of school, and that's totally unnecessary. So kids who really need changes will still be able to make those changes. As Dr. Haiti said, I know we heard from one parent, but the reality is the changes are not kids changing because a class is hard or, something really unique. The changes are because kids want to be with their friends. They don't like a teacher. Courses get overloaded, so one teacher who is liked has 25 kids in a class, and the teacher who's not liked, still getting paid that same salary out of our budget has 10 kids. And the other thing that I want to bring up that we've noticed and we're going to really, work to control is I don't know if, all parents are paying attention to the student schedule, right? So kids are taking classes. They may or may not have paid attention initially when kids made their schedule, and then the kids are in school and they start shopping classes or dropping and switching, and so you don't really know what they have. We want to make sure all students are taking the courses that are needed and necessary. So additionally, what goes along with this move is that they're going to lose all of that flexibility that they had coming in as freshmen from the middle school. So just like college, I mean, the parent mentioned college. I was very happy she did. By the way, add drop in college is a declining scale with money. So yeah, they have add drop in college, but they also speed you up because the longer you take to drop that course, the less money you get back for taking that course. So that part wasn't mentioned. So there's a penalty because colleges don't want you jumping around in courses either. People want to get the courses settled. And then, also freshmen coming in from the middle school we need to ensure that they're taking courses that are necessary and required for graduation. As we've seen over these years, the credit requirement has just gone up and up and up. And, it's not uncommon to run into problems where kids are in their senior year and they're behind in credits in terms of they're not seniors, but they don't have specific courses that are requirements. And now we're trying to scramble and figure out how do we get this kid to do this. They'll beg us to have a teacher do a 6th class, so now we're paying, the contracted rate for a teacher to teach a 6th class. It might be 2 kids in the room. We can really curb a lot of that by saying, here are the courses you have to take. Again, having taught college since 1996, it's not uncommon with colleges. You don't really go into college as a freshman and just take a bevy of courses. Like, I think I'm going to take all these basket weaving courses. You are going to take Math 101, English 101, or whatever designation the college is giving it, a humanities course. You're going to take the courses that they tell you. So I guarantee you in your freshman year, you don't have a ton of choice. So we're moving toward that to ensure our students are taking required courses toward graduation and cutting out the jumping around. School is not for you to pick and choose every single person. I don't like them. Okay, you just don't like the teacher. If we're paying teachers to be professionals and teach, we're not here for popularity. So I, as a superintendent, I'm saying I'm not concerned that you don't like every teacher. That's life.
Thank you. So, were there any, do you think you would be able to answer all those questions that the speaker had over here? I think you probably did address them.
And one last, recommendation I would have for that one parent who is concerned, we do encourage students to, so it's almost towards the end of school year. They already did their schedule for next year. They met with the counselor, so they decided, okay, I want to take AP Calculus, for example. We do encourage students to go talk to the AP Calculus teacher, get a syllabus, look at what it looks like, ask all the questions you want this year before you go into summer. And if you decide that this is really not what you want to do, you've got all summer long to change your mind, or you can change your mind before you leave. So we do encourage students to go. If they have a question, if they want to know what a CTE class looks like, what do they learn, what projects, they can go and talk to their teachers.
But there is some sort of did I hear you say that you have some days, like a couple days or anything like that, or some special thing of the first couple of days that you could possibly change? No?
No,
Over
so
the summer. Yeah.
it's over the summer. But what I did say was
Just the summer.
we're not nothing's 100% absolute, right? You see kids who get in classes, and so say they felt really good during the summer. They met the teacher, they looked at the syllabus, they went through the summer reading about, I'm gonna take calculus, and then they get in that class and they're like, Lord, this is too much. We are not here to crush a child's spirit. That is not what we're talking about. And again, I heard the parent, but the reality is the majority of movement, that's just like an isolated situation for the most part. My experience in 31 years, the majority of movement has nothing to do with kids struggling with a class.
Yeah.
It's, I don't like that teacher, or I don't like the time that I have that class, or as you've heard Dr. Haiti say, my friends aren't in that class. So, in college, I wanted to take this course because it was close to lunch and close to the parking lot where my car was. It's like it had nothing to do with this class is hard. So we're trying to cut out all of that. All right. Again, our focus is changing that culture and improving academic performance. And we've learned as we continue to dig in and look at stuff, far too much flexibility and freedom of kids just willy-nilly picking and choosing and doing what they want. And so when we sit here now, it's March, and you can say we have kids who need to get out of school in this June, and they're taking their full load of courses, and we know they're not going to have enough courses to graduate in June. We're going to take all those phone calls from parents, because no one's going to remember, oh, I was ad dropping, my kid was having fun. I know from experience. Parents forget all that. They get real blank. Why is my baby not graduating? Because your baby doesn't have the 25 credits that are required by Windsor Public Schools. But I'm just making it up. He took a whole lot of autos classes, though, so your car should be tip-top. But he ain't graduating in June.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Taylor, and then I'll get back to Ms. Cantor.
So when this first came up and I got reached out to by a parent, I had to go back and get the receipts because I'm the only one on the board with a student there. So I got the letter. There is an ad drop period. I don't remember what the first day of school was, but they were able to do schedule changes through Google Forms. Am I wrong? And through September 5th. And if it's an AP course, you get even more time, but it has to be, there's more protocols on that because there's a contract and all those things. So I just want it to be very clear, there is a window. Mm-hmm. For next year, my daughter came home with her proposed schedule already. They have time. It's a lot of time, a lot. I was like, wow, already? She was like, yeah, so we can just kind of figure out da-da-da-da-da. To Dr. Hill's point, she's already looking at what she's taking for junior year, and it's March. So I just want to make that very clear. So she'll have all the way until like the first week of school to change it. Yeah. So I just want to make it clear there is time. These students weren't just handed these schedules. They had a hand in it. They met with their counselor about it. And it's strategic because, again, you don't want to get all the way to senior year and realize I didn't take X, Y, and Z. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Ms. Cantor?
Thank you. I'm wondering if a student wants specific subjects because they want to major in a certain thing, and they put in for those specific subjects that year, and they don't find out until you go to school in September that, well, gee, they're not going to be in those subjects because the class is full. I mean, what do you do in that scenario? Does that happen?
So you get to find out what classes you're taking way before September. So you actually get a schedule, a complete schedule. So right now, your student should have a course request form that they have completed. Once that is completed, in May, June, time frame, we actually create as a master schedule, and then we send home what the actual schedule is going to look like, period 1, period 2, period 3. So you will see what your student is taking, and then you've got all summer long. If they are not scheduled in a class they wanted to take, you can meet with a counselor. However, if your child is in 9th or 10th grade, we are giving the priority to your graduation requirements. So even though you might want to take photography, for example, if you have not completed your math, science, social studies, your electives in terms of like, personal finance, PE, health, all of these are graduation requirements that we will make sure that all our 9th and 10th graders are scheduled in first. Then if your schedule allows it and you want photography, for example, we'll add photography. Sometimes, depending on how the master schedule works, these classes are not available at the same time that your child is free. So he or she might not end up in those classes. But you will find out way before September what courses they have on their schedule.
Okay, now what about if a student changes their major of what they want to do? How does that work?
So we don't have majors in high school. We just have required courses for graduation.
Right.
And I know students have interest, right? So
Right.
again, as much as I can, I like to not talk about other people's kids. I can use my child. We paid attention to her schedule every single year through 9th through 10th, and she's in 11th grade. She needs 1.5 credits to graduate for next year. You can't go to school in Windsor with 1.5 credits. But she did that because we set that up so that she could spend her senior year taking TV production, art classes. So she'll be overloaded. She'll graduate with more than 25 credits, obviously, but she'll be overloaded with the stuff that she's interested in, at least for now, till she go to
Right.
college. We know how that works, right? So that's what she's interested in. But there's no major in high school. But if you do what we're saying, so what, I know some parents are bothered now, but by doing what we're saying and between, there's a lot of experience with all these administrators and educators and counselors. We know you're going to end up in that same situation. Most students should end up in their senior year not needing a full load of courses required.
Right.
And that's what we're trying to get to. So then you could use that year, and it also speaks to, something we'll talk about further at some point, my desire to add more ECE courses, early college experience courses, because I want all of our students to have the opportunity to take those courses and, stretch themselves even more while they're earning credit at, one of our local colleges or universities.
Well, that's what I was wondering, if they could really pack it in, freshman through junior year, get it done, and then have your fun.
That's ideal. That's absolutely what we're shooting for.
Why I was saying, what happens if they change your major?
Well, you call it a major, that, I want kids somehow majoring in gym.
Major classes, right, major classes that are core classes for graduation.
At least you think this college?
Right.
Well, then you get it out of the way, and you study really hard, and then you can really enjoy your senior year.
What?
So you're talking about the required, so you just want to change that term to required courses?
Yes.
Yes. So we get the required courses out of the way, as Dr. Haiti said, 9th and 10th grade, right? So some kids, 9th graders aren't really going to fuss because, you can't fuss about something you never had, right? They're in 8th grade. So we take away, they're like, oh, we heard my cousin once went, well, you'll never see it. So 9th and 10th grade, we're going to have your courses pretty much set for you. And 11th and 12th grade, it starts to free up. But also, it should help us reduce the number of students, again, who get to their senior year who are struggling. And you just be surprised at the number. It's not a new phenomenon. Students get into the senior year and it's like they got to take every course we possibly offer at Windsor, right? If I take, 15 courses and I go at night and no, we don't want that. We want kids to go to school normal.
But doesn't guidance tell them, or the parents, you need to take this now? So they won't be in that.
Yes.
They do. Oh, okay.
Yes. Yes.
It's been a long
Yes.
time. It's been
I
a
was like, I
long
won't say,
time
and your
since I've
point would be?
really been there. So, and I don't have that
So
now
what-
experience.
So one of the things we've learned, thank you, Ms. Cantor, for saying that, and thank you, Ms. Clays, so I didn't have to say all the wrong things. So we're going to stress to parents even more now what the graduation requirements are. One of the things I heard this morning at the coffee talk was parents don't know.
But it's their business.
Y'all know I
to
struggle with
know.
stuff like that. So we're going to make sure parents know even more.
Okay.
We're going to just
And
stress.
I get a lot of texts, emails, and all
Yeah,
kinds of things. And
we
it's,
are
and it's
really
round
going
the
to
clock.
stress. It's this 25 credits. I can tell you in my 31 years, it's not uncommon for a parent to come to me and say, my kid's been here 4 years. They should be graduating. They have been here 4 years. Yes, they have. That does not mean they're graduating. So we want to make sure that those 4 years are fun and productive. So they're earning the required credits, right? 25 credits is a lot of credits. But with Windsor's comprehensive programming and the schedule, it's very easy to do and very quickly get your credits. So we want students to understand that and more parents to understand that. But I mean, as much as we talk about it, I don't know how many have really absorbed it. And so we're going to really push it a lot so they understand. And this is all part of what we're doing strategically, not just the add drop, but like I said, forcing the schedule more with the 9th and 10th graders. And so folks will understand. It won't take really more than a year for people to get it. Like, this is how it works.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
Mr. Wollaston?
Yeah, I was just going to say the experience he shared about his daughter is very similar to my own experience at Windsor High. I had a study hall every semester, and I think back then the credit requirement might have been like 21 or 22 courses, but I did end up finishing with about 25 or more credits because I did what I had to do in the first 3 years. So I think it is a good idea to not leave that up to choice, but try to guide students in that direction, because by the time my senior year, I really only had, 4 required classes to take. So each day, or A day or a B day, I only had like 2 classes that I really had to learn something in every day. The other classes was a recording tech class and a study hall. So I stayed in school.
Yes, I'm confused because I've had 3 graduate from high school, and 3 left Sage Park. I knew what they were taking for leaving from Sage Park to the high school. I was working with guidance. I knew what my kids were picking. I was telling my kids what they could take, not take. We would not sleep at the wheel, so I'm confused. Even through high school, my kids knew, don't be fooling around. When that schedule come out, you bring it to my table, and we're gonna have a discussion. So I'm confused. Where's the disconnect with the parents and guidance, or the parents and students and guidance, where they're they're able to pick these classes, and the parents are not at the table, or are the parents required to sign off on it, or is it just? Because I know we were OCD in my house, but we were making sure that they had what they had to have freshman year, sophomore year, junior year, so the senior year they can do whatever they want as long as they walk across that stage within 4 years, and as long as they had whatever they needed. So I'm confused of where the disconnect is.
So I want to say I invited Principal Parker up. I see Ms. Galinsky, so I'll defer to you, but I invited Principal Parker up because that's, specifically, maybe he knows something that even I don't know what's happening, because I just shared my experience with my children. This is my 3rd one. Is like, there was no schedule that we didn't talk about in the kitchen, so I don't know. But I don't want to disparage anyone.
Right.
Mr. Parker?
Oh, I thought you said.
Dress.
Okay, so good evening, everyone. Sorry. So to Mr. Lockhart's point, not every kid takes that schedule to the table, in my experience. Yes, with my children, did the same. I knew what they were taking. We talked about what that looked like, but that's not always the case. So when you create the forum at drop, and there is no mechanism for the parent to also be involved in that extra conversation, even if the counselor kind of went and said, hey, this is what you need to take, now there's that piece where you have to come back now. And it may look like on the surface that, you know what, let's let the kid take what they want, pick the class they want, and then, we can just catch up on this end. And I think it kind of goes back to now what we're looking at in terms of for lack of a better term, dictating what the student needs and trying to get those requirements out of the way. Because, even pedagogically thinking from an educator kind of lens as a, former teacher, I think Dr. Hill alluded to it. In 9th grade, you have no idea what you're even choosing, all right? So then you think about seniors. At that point, they pretty much know, what they're taking. If not, then we have other issues, all right? And so really that piece becomes from, the 10th and 11th graders. And instead of just creating that whole forum, now it's like, all right, now when students have to come back and have that conversation about the change, so we removed that forum, but not the mechanism, but now there's an opportunity for the parents to now be a part of that conversation. So the shift that, I'm looking to do as a leader with the counseling department, working closer with them now, is even when we come back, if we're making those changes, the parent is now also being a part of that conversation about the change. And so that's the different piece where it's like, okay, I got my schedule, and you'd be surprised, and I've 10 years as an assistant principal, a lot of children get to dictate what classes and things they're going to take with their parents. And so a lot of that becomes conversations now with the parents from an administrative standpoint, from a counseling standpoint, and really letting them understand what those changes, potential changes, may look like in the long term. Because the kid may just come home in their mind, it's like, I want to be in the class with my friends. However, they're going to go home and explain it a different way. So now to take that large forum out and just kind of say, well, you know what, if we're going to have that conversation, we're going to make an appointment, you, your family, and really talk about what that looks like. So that's pretty much, a nutshell of kind of how we're kind of looking at it from this perspective, but really just a synopsis of what everybody's kind of already stated.
And I want to say one of the things I want to do, and I don't really believe in hand-holding adults, but I got to look out for kids. That's my job. So when I said we're going to really push it so that they really know, I just had a thought just now as Mr. Parker was speaking. We may have to set up a night for schedules. Mm-hmm. Again, you won't get everyone, but it'll be one more way that we can get folks come and say, hey, because I know the students, they talk to their advisor, they talk to their counselor, they set the schedules up, but to make sure parents are aware of what the kids are doing, we just do a little invitation blitz so they can come at the start of the semester, well, when we schedule, and then just double check. We have the communication tools so we can let people know, but we have to, and as he said, it's just the experience. Some kids just pretty much go through school on their own accord, and the parent, like I said, I've dealt with, they come at 4 years later and they're expecting to be at a graduation, and it's not going to happen. So we want to minimize that.
Ms. Galinsky?
Yeah, I think Mr. Parker had actually addressed some of it, but we also don't know where these students are coming from in terms of their parent involvement. They might not have any parent involvement. Their grandparents could possibly be raising them, and they're so removed from that because it has been so many years that they've had to deal with it, that these students are dictating, quote unquote, their own schedule because they're doing the best that they can. And so I'm so glad that everyone here has really taken such initiative in their student schedules. And I'm happy to hear that for those students who might not have that parental guidance at home, that the school is trying to help them and try to guide them in that right direction.
Thank you very much. Ms. Claes?
So I'm glad to hear that there is an administrative option for a student who makes a bad choice. I think that was the parent who was talking, and I mean, if you get in a lifeguarding class and you can't swim. I mean, it's like, so it helps. No, but I mean, it's a pretty rigorous, so I think that's really important. And I think that the guidance piece is critical as, you look at the support that's needed. The other thing I would like you to consider when you're looking at the guidance support is the access to guidance. So, for example, if you are a student and pick your schedule before the summer begins, and maybe you have a regret about that schedule, it might be hard to get back to your guidance counselor because they're managing the schedules of a lot of students. So, and then the summer contact point. So I just want to, I don't know if that's true operationally, but I just want to make sure that students have those chances. Okay.
Yes.
Oh, the Google Doc system, is that, that's all I need to know. I got it.
Yes, so.
Thank you.
We do have a system, and even during the summer, even though not every single counselor works all summer long, every single counselor has a specific time during the summer that they are in the building. So if you want to talk to your own counselor, you know when they are. If you just happen to be out of town all summer long, but you're only here first week of August, there is still a counselor in the office who will be able to help you.
And they do a lot more virtually too.
And they do, yes, and they do a lot of virtual meetings as well.
So
Yes.
it's convenient for the parent. I saw them all summer long doing those.
Yes.
Anyone else on this topic? Oh, sorry.
Can I?
Mr. Panos, then Mr. Wollaston.
Oh, no, maybe we continue this because I have a few questions more about the credit recovery. So if you want to finish this topic.
Mr. Wollaston?
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, I think it's a great idea for like just added guidance for those students as well, because as Ms. Galinsky mentioned, it's not everyone has that extra support at home. I mean, I had the support at home, but my parents was of the belief that, you know, you're in high school now. I'm kind of like just trusting you to make the most responsible decision. And he felt like I wasn't making the most responsible decision, he would be up at the school having a conversation because he trusted me with that freedom, and it wasn't being represented well. So it kind of was a push and pull for my own personal experience. But as was mentioned before, I think that extra freedom is really most beneficial in that senior year as students are planning for college or trying to figure out what their next step is, or maybe they need a little extra time to write their college essay, but they'll have those free blocks if they really lock in on their required courses in the first 3 years. So it is really a great initiative in my opinion, and I think you guys are doing well in that aspect.
Anyone else on this question? And we'll then go back to credit recovery. Mr. Panos.
Two questions. When they're done with the credit recovery course, you say, well, if they pass the credit recovery, that is the software, you know, it's a software course, right? So the passing of it is on a computer, right? This is not the same thing as taking an exam. Of course, they're on a computer too, but do you check it somehow with the final exam or main exams in the regular course to make sure that the student is could actually pass, let's say, the final exam with a decent grade?
Right. So they're not identical. So I have to tell you that. So, however, they do assess the same standards. So you might get a question that has different numbers than my question, but we're both being assessed on, are we able to solve an equation, right? But your equation is going to look different than mine. There are two different assessments. Yours was in class, paper and pencil, or even online, but mine is on that system. It assesses the same standard, which tells us it has the same level of rigor. So that's what we focus on. Are students mastering the standards in whatever format they're given?
But the issue is, in other words, it's how it's presented. You know, so when you take a final exam, you don't know what's going to be on the final exam. You don't have it. You know, so I don't know how the software works.
It's the same way.
I don't know whether there's any, how much guidance there is with it. In other words, if you really know something, if you know an area cold, you can take any teacher's final exam and get a decent grade. Some will get a little higher or lower, something like that. So the question is the software something, though, which has so much guidance to it that you really, you can barely avoid passing it? You know, how many people actually complete the, let's say, fail the software course, for example? Do you have a number? Not with you, but
I can look up the exact number, but I can tell you, not every single student who gets on the software passes the class, and that's how they end up taking the class again. And when they don't take it again, then they're behind on graduation requirement, because it's not that easy to just take it online. If you really are not going to put in the effort, in watching the videos, doing the lessons, when you get stuck asking your teacher and then taking the assessments, you're not going to pass.
Okay.
Can I say this, Mr. Panos? I've seen that up close with students, unfortunately, that have to, go through our expulsion support. So they take their courses. They're not at the high school now, and they're taking these courses through
Over here?
Edgenuity online
Yeah.
here in the building. Yes.
Yep.
But so while we have tutors who can support, it's really the opposite of what you're saying, right? The kid on the computer is doing a lot more work by himself or herself. And I've had students say, I can't wait to get back to high school so I can have a real teacher. Like they just, because if you're not good at looking at an example, like I said, watching a video and just looking at something online and then doing the problem, the computer's cold. There's no relationship. It's just, here's the information, right? So they're not walked through their exams. Like once the exam is opened by the teacher, like that means just the time. Just like, you take it, any other exam. In a class, a regular class as a teacher, I know teachers go through study packets sometimes a week to 2 weeks before the exam for kids. So no kid at the high school is taking a final exam cold. They're not just walking in the room and teachers like, well, you've been here all semester, here's the exam. They have study packets, they're doing review. So they're well-versed and they're well aware of what's on that final exam. On that computer, I would argue it's much more difficult. They don't have that same thing going for them. Same standard, but it is not the same situation for them.
Okay. I would just say, well, all right. I mean, you give a test like that, but but you never tried, let's say, some sample of students to see, well, how many of them could pass a final exam by one of the teachers or a couple of the teachers? Did you ever, you ever sample it for, do a little statistical analysis to see if it's really...
I just want to keep saying, because I know where you're going, is the teacher is not creating a more difficult test. Like, that's
well,
not,
then we should have no problem passing it.
We're right, but we could argue, just for the sake of argument, we could argue, can I just take a kid out of the class with the teacher and give them a final exam on the computer? Now, you take that test.
Sure.
You don't know what's going to happen. I just want to be clear, because I know the basis of your argument is it the same? It's the same standard, right? It's the same standard. They're just doing it in a different way. And remember, as I've said many times before to this board, in general, colleges now more and more are online. That is the new world. We're not used to it. That's not your world you went to. That's not my world, but that's the new world. Students earn degrees from colleges all over the world. They've never been in that country. They will never go in that country. They've never been on that campus. And they're taking the course on the computer.
Okay, by that reasoning, we can just use the computers. You just take the credit recovery, and we don't need the teachers. And we drop the budget 10%.
No, remember the computers go up. The computers go up. Remember?
Oh, boy, that's
We don't want that. Right. Now we're paying big money.
Ms. Batchelder's thing, her software budget is going to go way up now. But, so, seriously now, would you consider then using credit recovery, what you call the software course, instead of teachers for just as a way of...
We are very limited.
Right.
We're also limited by state law of what we can do as far as distance learning. There's a whole...
I don't want that problem. Like, we want students in the classroom with the teachers. We're glad that the state has allowed us now, well, all districts, to have an online option, but they haven't gone all the way.
Well, this is not online. What we're talking about is a software course that you say
that's what
is
I mean
equivalent.
By
so if it's equivalent, then it suggests that you have, if you have some need for more, another teacher, well, just say someone wants, it's full, the class is full, there's 30 kids, I don't know, and you say, well.
We've done that.
And we still have teachers monitoring, so it's not going to be completely free to just put all the kids online. We still have teachers who are responsible to monitor. So we pay a teacher a 6th class, for example, because we have 20 kids taking health 11, 12 online. So it's not really, you're not saving a teacher because you still need that teacher to follow up, be available if kids have questions or get stuck and they can't pass on. Because the software is not going to let you pass if you keep failing, like a quiz. After every lesson, if you fail it, you're not going to be able to keep going on. Like, there must be some intervention from a human being.
Well, you could keep a few and just say, and then just take the, I mean, logically from what you're saying, the course, as long as you have some subject experts, the course, you're telling me on the one hand that it's more than equivalent, that it's actually better. So I'm just saying.
It's for credit recovery, and I think there is a reason and a purpose why it's only for credit recovery, because a lot of our kids who end up failing are kids who don't come to school regularly. So that's why they failed, because they did not come to school.
I understand, but that's, but I'm saying the argument using logically suggests that it's a complete, the current recovery, what you call credit, it's just a software course that is equivalent or better. And so it suggests that all you need is some guidance, and you can, voila, you've got a high school here with half the teachers or something, or a quarter.
But you're missing all the other experiences that students get when they are in a classroom. That is not, so there are two different things. So students need to master standards in order to pass a course, but also there are other soft skills that kids learn, the critical thinking, the problem solving, the cooperation, the talking with presenting, all these skills students do not get when they are on credit recovery. And this is why it's extremely just for credit recovery to help kids stay on track for graduation and not to just take all their classes online and graduate in a year or two.
Well, I don't expect you to do it. It's just the argument, I think, may have been a little bit too forceful. That's it's a bit. I guess there was things that, the value of the courses.
That's why Dr. Hill left the room.
Yeah, he left the room. He couldn't take it. That's it. All right, I guess.
Mr. Wollaston?
Yeah, I'll just speak to this shortly because I through my experience, I work with students directly who are in the situation in a school who has much less teachers than Windsor High does. So I know students personally who, because their math teacher is on FMLA, had to take Ingenuity for their entire course, and that's just how they had to learn. And they only had the substitute teacher in the class pretty much watching the students, making sure they're safe. So it puts an enormous amount of responsibility on the student to learn the content for themselves. It's really a more self-driven program, and not every student is really that self-driven to really prosper on that that platform without some sort of assistance. And I'm also a part of the SGC for Weaver High School, and we had students who spoke on the fact that, there's kind of this issue with the shortage of teachers in the school that leads to teachers that are just covering the classes and the students are taking a computer program. So while it is a tool that we can utilize when a student has messed up the first time to try to get them back on track while staying all in the same year, it actually is much harder because it takes a lot more responsibility in yourself than it would to sit down in a class and every single time you have a question, ask your teacher in the middle of the classroom and take the test on time, the first time on paper.
Thank you. Any? Sure. Yes, as long as it's related to the superintendent's report.
It is. Well, the superintendent, I think, reported on that some of our parents are not paying their food bills because students are accessing a second food item. So I just didn't know if parents are very clearly aware of the policy. So maybe there's a way that we could do a little bit more. Oh, they're aware of the policy? Okay, never mind then.
So the issue is students that want more food than what is allotted. So, and the issue is we can't deny as a school district, plus we can't expect Well, one, we can't deny, so there, right there, we're just done. But we also can't, even if we were able to, we can't monitor one child eating a full lunch and then going back up when you have hundreds of kids in a space eating lunch together. You know what I mean? So, and so yes, so that would not work because now we're all free.
You can speak up.
Right, okay, so students punch their ID code. So we've got all of our kiddos that remember their 6 or 8 digit number now. So they go up, they punch their code, they get their food. One, we can't deny them food, even if it's the second time that they come through the lunch line. And again, we can't, it would be extremely difficult to monitor if a student already received lunch. And some of the issues that we're facing were before this was free. So the individuals are saying that they've packed lunches for their children. So that means the children are eating the lunch and then going up for more. Again, we can't monitor that, and we can't, again, deny school lunch for that child.
Okay.
I just didn't know if it's because parents, I would think as a parent, when I heard everything's free, I don't have to worry about it, right? But I don't know my kids going up or had been going multiple times, charging up a lot. So I was just wondering if parents understood. Free isn't totally like, there was a period. Thank you. That's all.
Dr. Lockhart?
Yeah. Dr. Hill, this situation with our kids and the issues we're having with sports and our interaction with the CIAC and our interaction with the CCC conference and stuff, what is the position of our athletic director in all of this, and what actions have he taken on our behalf through you, if any?
So this is tricky because I can't answer for everyone.
Okay.
So I will say Mr. Fulton, athletic director.
Mm-hmm.
So, because you said a few things. You said CIAC, then you said CCC.
And the conference.
So I'm not aware of an issue with CCC. So I'm just not aware.
Okay.
CIAC, the governing body for sports in Connecticut. I heard the students tonight, and they're the governing body, so I imagine the students want to address that and seek to pursue. I had conversations with Principal Parker and Mr. Fulton, but I came into the situation was the Pomperog situation. You know, I wasn't aware of all the things the students heard. I was at the game.
Mm-hmm.
I was aware of that flag, and I know Mr. Fulton addressed it, and I also have already spoken at length with the superintendent of Pomperog, you know, right after that situation to create an opportunity for our students and administration to meet with his students and administration as well. So that's as far as I had gone. Now hearing the students talk about wanting to change the CIAC, I don't know how we're going to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So I heard it tonight. I'll speak to Mr. Fulton. It's like, what's the process? Just to be blunt, I don't really know what the CIAC is really going to do, because you guys that have grown up here in Connecticut, I did not. Those are very powerful organizations in their own right, and they do what they want to do. Because if I hear the students correctly, they're looking for the CIAC to actually put in writing penalties. Did I hear that right?
Yes. And
I'm gonna just tell you from my position that, you know, this level, this power base, no one's gonna do that, because they're gonna have to be able to say, any district that does this is a tough conversation for some people, and I am not trying to be here all night on this conversation. One town has one level of influence and power, but another town has a whole nother level of influence and power. So now you're telling all those people, CIAC, the representatives from, you know, various places, no matter what, as soon as someone makes a claim that this happened here, this is the penalty that always has to happen. I'm not saying don't meet with the CIAC. I absolutely love that part. And talk about if we're going to have, rules, then there should be some level of enforcement. You should ask for it. I just don't know what they're going to put down.
Okay. I appreciate that response, and I know you can't speak for Mr. Fulton. The reason why I bring up the CCC is because there's 32 schools within the CCC, and New Britain High School is one of them, and they actually hosted the event. And there's a vetting process whenever we have these neutral sites that host playoff games. So this is something that probably it goes from the school, then the schools participate within their respective conference. There's that unity of strength there, and then the CIC is over the whole state and all the other conferences. So that's why I offer it, has anything gone through the CCC, only because that event was hosted at New Britain High School, which is a fellow CCC member. So there's levels of responsibility to this because it's an honor to host these type of games. And if there's no type of controls put in place, either by the hosting entity and or the CIAC, then that's an issue because it's all about safety for the competition. First for the students, first and foremost, and those that are coming in those venues to actually participate. So that's why I'm offering the CCC, and you have not heard that from anyone else.
So I said, I will say, I mean, I will go after anybody if they're wrong. So as far as the New Britain High School staff, they did what our staff would have done. So I guess we would be sitting on the other side of this had someone come to our school and heard some student say something, right? If we didn't hear it or we didn't react to it. But so I don't know how much blame I could put on the New Britain High School security. No. They were stationed, they did their job. This is an issue. The reality is, I have a hard time trying to talk in caveats, and y'all know that. So the reality is, this is a societal issue. Right. We got problems. It's not new. I've been to many games in my 20-something years here now around Connecticut, and we got some districts whose children say all kinds of things, including their parents, point blank. Students have said, like, we're just tired of it now. I would even say, by far, that Pompano game wasn't even close to being the worst. Like, no, not even close. So, but now it's time, whatever. Everybody hits a button, and it's time to say something. So I am looking forward to see how the students proceed. And I want to allow the school building administration, I already talked to Mr. Parker earlier, and the students to proceed with, meeting with CIAC. And I know there was a call already put in, and I know the director, Mr. Lungarini, has already called back. So, things are moving, and we'll see where we go from there. But I expect students to continue to speak up and follow up on things like this is important. But this is an issue that's bigger than a sporting event.
Yep. I agree with you, and in no means am I putting blame on New Britain High School. I want people to understand that. We're part of a conference that we pay conference dues to for all of our sports to participate in. So that's a collective unit of 31 other institutions that may share common issues and need to come together and collaborate and have that conference actually represent them when they talk with the CIAC. So that I'm coming from that viewpoint.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Ms. Cantor?
Thank you. May I please have an update on DACO on the 2 incidentals that I sent emails about and we already discussed? One was the bus A that didn't show up at 5:20, if they ever showed up and why parents weren't notified for the bus A students, and then the other incident with the stopping on the wrong side of the road on the state road.
So stopping on the wrong side was, DACO did call the police, the PD, to make sure they were aware, and they investigated. The driver was a sub-driver, and the route sheet was incorrect. So, and the issue right now is we're still going back and forth between the two programs. So the new program is not live yet because I don't want it to go live until we're 100% sure that all of the stops are correct and that they will pick up every day. So the systems are talking between the two. So, and unfortunately, that route sheet for that sub-driver was off the old system, so it was an old route sheet, and it was inaccurate.
Right, because on the even side, it's heading north, so they shouldn't pick up an odd number on that side. And Windsor Police Department did see the tapes. Windsor Police Department called and asked for them, and they viewed them. And farther down the street, they picked up 2 more students on the wrong side.
Yep.
And like I said, the pickup truck, I think it was a pickup truck, accelerated when she stopped, and the lights were on, but she didn't have her stop sign out. My son did stop.
Mm-hmm.
And then she beeped the horn, and the car proceeded straight past the bus, straight through.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I did talk to my son again. I said, don't do that. Why did you do that? And he said, because I didn't want the bus driver angry with me. I said, doesn't matter.
No,
Your
it
life is
doesn't.
more
Yeah,
valuable. I said,
absolutely.
they work for you, and they work for us. They work for Windsor Public Schools.
Yep.
Just tell them to keep going and pick you up on the next time when they come around, when they head southbound.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, next item on the agenda, committee reports. I assume there are no committee reports. Other matters? Next Board of Ed regular meeting, Tuesday, April 18th, 2023, at 7 p.m., LPW Boardroom. The next item on the agenda is audience to visitors. Ms. Daly.
Good evening. This is Robin Daly from the Superintendent's Office. If there's anyone from the public who would like to address the board, you may do so in 2 different ways. If you are using the Zoom application on your mobile device or computer, you may enter your comments into the Q&A feature located at the bottom of the Zoom menu bar. Or you may raise your hand on your computer if your device has a microphone by selecting the participants icon on the Zoom menu bar and then clicking raise hand, or by dialing *9 on your phone. You'll be given 3 minutes to speak. Please state your name and address. When you are called on, you'll be prompted with "You are now unmuted." For clear communication, we ask that you do not place your call on speakerphone. No comments can be made against the employees of the school district or children outside of your own.
Is there anyone online who wants to address the board?
There is 1 attendee, but no hand raised.
Okay. Anyone in the boardroom who would like to address the board? Seeing and hearing none. Oh, Mr. Panos, please go up over to the table.
Not now.
Seeing and hearing none, I'm going to close audience to visitor. Next item, looking for a motion.
I move that we enter into executive session for the purpose of discussing school safety plans. We invite Superintendent Dr. Hill and Director of Business Services and Human Resources Danielle Batchelder into executive session.
Second it.
Motion made by Mr. Lockhart, seconded by Mr. Panos. Any discussion? Seeing and hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Wait, is there any discussion? Anything you want to say? Oh, okay.
Yeah, after, yeah. Any discussion?
Okay.
Ms. Galinsky.
So, I understand that we are going to go into an executive discussion to discuss the school safety plans. Why is it that we, as the board, are privileged to this, but yet parents have absolutely no idea what's going on within the schools? And so my thought is that if there is a plan and the administrative staff is fully aware of it and they are good with it, then I think that the board should be excluded from that. Because
Excluded? There are certain things that we will
From
not
the
be,
safety
in
plans.
executive session, there are certain things we will not be privy to. So we're talking about items that the public is not entitled to.
But what about parents of students that are actually involved in these
Right,
schools?
I mean, parents should know the nature, the general nature that we have fire drills and we have safety drills and what the rules are for them. They should know that, and if they don't know that, then we need to make sure we're getting that information to parents.
Then the information does need to be going out to parents, because parents are not aware of any of these drills. They're aware that fire drills happen because the kids come home and they say something.
So they're
But-
not aware that there's safety drills that are conducted?
No, they are not.
I mean, I don't know, Dr. Hill, if you can speak to that?
So we do tell parents about, and it's not even new. It's been well over a decade plus. Lockdowns are just like the fire drills. However, I think if Ms. Galinsky's talking about like more detailed stuff on safety, like we don't discuss any of that. So the kids might not really think about the lockdown drill as much as they think about the fire drill, as we all have experienced. But that's required. Now the state legislature, as you learned when we were at the LOB, they're thinking of softening that up. But we were supposed to do, was it 2 a year?
Of the lockdown?
The lockdown.
So, yeah, 10 total, 2
Yeah, now the legislature's talking about softening up. But yeah, this is, I've never not known it to be in place in the 20 years in Windsor schools. So if parents don't know, like I said earlier about the scheduling stuff, then we would just keep pushing it out more. And it makes sense because you're speaking from a parenting crew of the younger ones, right? So
Correct.
they may not know because they're newer to the district and they haven't been through, so we can definitely inform. But if she's talking about a greater insight to the school safety plans, no, we don't. We just don't share that.
And I don't think that we should, which I'm in agreement with, but what I'm discussing more than anything is that the communication does go out and explains to parents that, yes, there are X number of fire drills that are performed, there are X number of lockdowns that are performed. And if they are performed, is there a way that we can also send out communication to the parents, be like, hey, we performed one of those lockdowns today. Maybe ask your child about it. Because that's what we're not receiving, is that communication, and that lack of communication is what gets the parents up in arms about issues within the district. Okay, that would be great. It would definitely cause a lot of, it would really help the parents out.
You're not saying like on this day we're going to have a fire drill. You're saying here are the things that we are required to do by the state during the course of a school year, and once we actually do it, saying, hey, you might want to talk to your child about.
Correct. Yes, I'm not needing to know when it's going to happen, but maybe after it occurs, then the parents can then go and discuss it with their child.
So
Yes.
I'll take a chance and say, not taking a chance on we can do it, we will, but I will focus that on the elementary schools. Because I can tell you, high school parents, including being one, I don't want to know all that. Like, they've been doing drills their whole life, keep it moving. So we will make sure the elementary parents, pre-K to 5, get that communication for sure.
Definitely,
I'll tell
pre-K
the-
through 5, I would
I'll
say.
see the leaders tomorrow, and I'll let them know to start doing that.
Perfect, that would be
Okay.
good.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Mr. Wollaston?
What is the, I guess, communication, like, software you guys use for things like that?
ThrillShare?
Yeah. So that's where you would communicate that?
That's going to be the first blitz. And then I also, because, Ms. Galinsky's talking about elementary school, it's different. I've taken a slap over the last couple of weeks for something else, and I forget. And I think that makes a lot of sense, right? I haven't been an elementary parent in a long time. So we just assume that because we've been doing it a long time, everyone knows. So I will use that to blast information through our communications person. And then also, as I said, meet with the leaders tomorrow, having them communicate, because all the schools send a newsletter home just to say, just a reminder, per state law, we're required to do these things. And as moving forward, once we do one of these drills in a school, we will let you know. So they'll be hit, multiple ways. So the ThrillShare will actually be the one time I send it out, it'll go to like the whole district. That'll just be to everyone. But like the follow-up letters going out, it will just be the pre-K to 5. Because I know my high school parents aren't, they don't.
And since we have several members on the board with students, they'll hopefully tell me, because I don't, that those messages went out. Any other discussion? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor of the motion to enter into executive session, say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Abstention. Motion carries 9-0-0. We are in executive we are out of regular session into executive session.
Mr. Fury, I need to speak with you quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
17 is settled and ready for everyone to reconvene.
No, I need you to invite the facial expressions. Can you raise your hand? This is going to go along with the money, you know? Yes, okay. Very disrespectful.
Trina?
No, sit.
We are back into regular session, and at this time, I'll look and see if any last words any Board of Ed members want to make, starting with Ms. Claes.
I just want to let people know that may need that information, that the SNAP program stopped its supplemental benefits for families. So a lot of families who are on that benefit are receiving at least $95 less a month in SNAP. And Medicaid, automatic Medicaid enrollment and SNAP enrollment is going to end. So if anybody is on public health insurance or enrolled, renewals and redeterminations will start again. So if they receive forms, they should fill them out and complete them or do their renewals online. And there's more information at the DSS website in case they need it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Halleck.
Thank you. I don't have anything this evening.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Wollaston.
I do have a few words. As we know, March is Women History Month, and I just, had a few people that I'd like to celebrate. First and foremost, I'd like to start with my mother. She's an amazing woman. She's historic to me, first woman I knew. But she's an amazing woman. She birthed 10 kids, and she didn't use any epidural, so she's bragged about it. But even after that, someone who's very dear to my heart, Dr. Bramble, just had a birthday yesterday. I'd like to celebrate her as well. Became a doctor at 26 years old, and she's practicing pharmacy now. As I mentioned a second ago, I do have 9 siblings, so there's 10 of us, and I have 7 sisters. So I have 7 sisters I'm very proud of. Although I'm surrounded by many women and supported by many women, I do not know everything about women. It's the truth. And but of those 7, that's true. Of those 7, there's one I'd like to particularly highlight. Her name is Melissa. She has been doing a lot of good work in the community around health and wellness. So I'd just like to celebrate her even now. Next, I'd like to celebrate every woman in this room, our elected officials. As you know, we're literally history. We all signed that book and we sworn, but even you guys, because you're doing amazing work for us here and building community and just, keeping the school going. And last but not least, as I said earlier, I've been extremely supported by women my entire life from the day I was born. But even more since I've been on the board, Ayanna, Miriam, and Nushet, you guys have been, you took me in as a little brother, and I really appreciate all you guys have done for me, the opportunities, the rooms you brought me in. Miriam, Ayanna, Nushet, you guys know what it is, and I really appreciate you guys all. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Galinsky.
Just a little bit of a personal note, this will be my last physical meeting for a few months because, in the words of Arnold, this is not a tuma. I'm very much pregnant, expecting my 3rd child, so.
I didn't want to ask, so.
But hopefully within a couple of months, I'll be able to come back, probably virtually though. So I will keep everyone informed as to when I'll be joining the meetings, but I will absolutely not be at the next one in April because that is my due date. So, okay, I just want to let everyone know.
Thank you. Thank you. Ms. Taylor.
Congratulations again. That's so exciting. We're having a baby. Better you than me. Just 2 quick things. I wanted to shout out our girls basketball team. I love you girls so much. You did great. Amazing job to Coach Britt. To come back to her, alma mater and do what she's done with these girls. We don't have one senior, so we'll be back next year. Yep. And just shouting out everyone. Oh, my goodness, here, I'm new to this Apple Watch thing. And then a quick shout out to everything that's going on again in town. Our website and our social media is popping. It's lit, whatever the kids are saying now. Follow us. You can find a multitude of things that's going on and show up. It's really important to support the kids. Thanks.
Thank you. Ms. Cantor?
Thank you. I would just like to thank everybody for their contributions continuously, for being on the board. I know it's a lot of work, and I really appreciate it, and I think everybody appreciates everybody here, and I think we got along quite well, and I think it's a big accomplishment. I think we've gone through a lot, and I want to thank everybody, Miss Daly and Miss Batchelder and Mrs. Brown, and I can't remember the other woman's name. I'm sorry.
Alexa.
Yes, yes. Thank her for putting everything together because it's a lot of work. And I appreciate it. And a lot of times they have to do the work over and over again because things change. So thank you for the time. And thank you for the beautiful gift.
Thank you. Mr. Locker?
Yeah, follow behind Mr. Williston. It is Women's History Month, and I just wanted to just highlight, the women's path in education just for a brief moment. In 1855, the first woman to hold elected office in the United States were school board members. The 19th Amendment, which granted women the right to vote, wasn't ratified until 1920, though. Marietta Patrick and Lydia Hall were elected to the school board of Asheville, Massachusetts. They were both teachers. Hall served for 4 years. Patrick was on the board for a year before stepping down to get married. Back in the day, when female teachers wanted to serve, they couldn't be married. They couldn't leave their towns after a certain time. They were really, really restricted in what they could do to be teachers in public education. So it was very, very demeaning back in the day for teachers. But if you look at the facts today, women make up 74% of all the teachers in America, while men only make up 26% in America. But education has not always been dominated by females. It was basically a male profession back in the day until the United States became industrialized. And then when opportunities opened up for males, there were women that were backfilling those positions and became the dominant force in education. But even then, men were actually teaching. However, women had to follow strict rules that men did not have to follow, even back then. Since then, women in education has made a remarkable impact, both traditional teaching roles and from positions of institutional power. Speaking of institutional power, there's a huge disparity in school superintendents across the country. In 2010, 74% of the superintendents were male. In 2021, 71% were male. So it has only gone, females being superintendents has only gone up 3% over an 11-year period. That's a problem. That is a problem. So we need to make sure that we highlight the fact that women have been very strong and steadfast within this profession. And one of those women is Mary McLeod Bethune. Many of you may know that she actually founded a college institution in Daytona Beach area in Florida. And I'm going to leave you with a quote. She stated that, "I leave you to love. I leave you to hope. I leave you the challenge of developing confidence in one another. I leave you a thirst for education. I leave you a respect for the use of power. I leave you your faith. I leave you racial dignity. I leave you a desire to live harmoniously with your fellow men. I leave you a responsibility to our young people." So I found this quote, and I found it to be very fitting to just speak her into the record as far as history, what she has done for education. I have other examples. I will email you the examples I was going to read, but in a lot of time, I just want to make sure that we recognize all women that have played their role throughout education, whether it's kindergarten, whether it's nursing, whether it's special education. There have been women that have been trailblazers to get us where we are today, and yet and still, women still face gaps in 2023, and that needs to be addressed. Thank you. And thank you to the women that serve on this board, by the way. No slight.
Thank you very much. Mr. Panos.
Well, I can't add much to that. So I guess I'll just say thank you for all this and quit. And oh, for the old days.
Thank you. To kind of piggyback on Darlene's statement about the SNAP program, the Hunger Action Team here in Windsor acknowledges that, and we have members from central office who participate in that. And one thing that is being done to support the Weekend Wheels program that exists is for those who'd like to do a 5K walk or run on April 29th, sponsored by Physical Therapy and Sports Medicine, will directly benefit the Windsor Food and Fuel Bank and the Weekend Wheels project. So that's all I have, and I'm looking for one more motion.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Motion was made by Mr. Lockhart, seconded by Mr. Panos. Any discussion? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Abstention? We are adjourned at 10:21, 9-0 vote.